ću poći za te, prodaj me za dukate, pa ću poći za te. Slušaj babo, rasi su skupi, il me ženi, jer mi kamburu kupi. U nešto se udarati mora, u nešto se udarati mora. Slušaj babo, rasi su skupi, il me ženi, jer mi kamburu kupi. U nešto se udarati mora, u nešto se udarati mora. Slušaj babo, rasi su skupi, il me ženi, il mi kamburu kupi. U nešto se udarati mora, u nešto se udarati mora. Slušaj babo.
Welcome back, curly heads. How we doing? Let's get it started, baby. In the meanwhile, enjoy some beats. Let's fucking go. Ajde. Can I get an ajde in chat?
Stotinu da prepravi godinu i da ću mu kapora vjenčati me mora i da ću mu kapora vjenčati me mora.
We going full Balkan today, baby. Yeah. I'm going to torture you with some eternal classics. I don't know who I'm torturing more, the OG Balkaners in here or the rest of you, but this, oh God, is this a fucking legendary song. Let's go, baby.
Da je prav i sa tobom bi da spava, a ne zna da si moj, plav. Zar je važno što je plav? Kad svaki pramen moje crne kose postaće joj nespokoj. Da ona zna ko sam ti ja, šta sam ti značila, da sam ti dane vedrila i oblačila. Da ona zna kog ne voli, kom se suprotstavlja i da sam ja ona.
Congratulations to Cynical Chris for becoming yet another police officer of chat. Let's go.
Dram, život postaće je dram, ostaće na stubu srama,
Thank God most of you do not understand these lyrics because they're straight out of hell, bro. Oh my God. It's like, yeah, I'm not gonna say it.
Dalo na zna ko sam ti ja, šta sam ti značila, da sam ti dane vedrila i oblačila.
Ajde!
Dalo na zna kog ne voli, kom se suprotstavlja i da sam ja ona koja ostavlja. Dalo na zna ko sam ti ja, šta sam ti značila, da sam ti dane vedrila.
Umgeben von Leichen und Trophys, wenn ich mich umsehe, weil ich geh lieber drauf, als dass ich drauf.
Talk about a transition, hey, welcome in, welcome in, welcome in.
Und auf mir hab ich nicht mal ein Cent. Überlebenskampf, ich klaue mir.
I am an early bitch, late.
Last one on the floor, makeup is a mess. I see a sexy boy.
That's the queen! Let's go, baby! 26 months.
Wir sind beide Crack, also
Fuck you. Come in. Oh my goodness, what a great start. Welcome in, you beautiful uncircumcised cocks. How we doing? How we doing? How we doing? How we doing? It is nice to see every single one of you. We are back and ready to do it all over again, as one of my oldest Welsh friends used to say. It's Wednesday, the 6th of May. The plan for the week is to stream today, to stream tomorrow, to stream on Friday, to stream on Saturday, and to stream on Sunday. So welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Thank you, SpecPick, for the 4 months of Prime. Thank you, Ply Millions, for the 4 months of regular. And thank you, Nozo Queer, for the incredible 26 months. And thank you to everybody who chooses to follow that beautiful, beautiful train of hospitality. Welcome in, guys. If anybody's died since the last stream, please do tell us in chat, because as we all know, whether you end up in heaven or in hell, in both, you definitely still have access to this community. We started today's stream at 4:20, so I hope most of you are in one way, shape, or form blaze the fuck up. Sweaty, circumcised, crazy hamburgers. Thank you, Juro. Juro, you've been here since back in the day when I called you child soldiers. The Gooner Army, remember that? That was fucking edgy. Why the fuck was I doing that? What the fuck was... I don't know. I don't know. I think I was winging it back then. I was not very serious back then. Not like I'm serious now. How you guys doing? How's your day been? I went to see my grandparents and my mom. They were lovely. Gave me a nice sweater. I bought my mom a new phone. You guys bought my mom a new phone. You guys bought my mom a new phone. Hi, I am your Gopnik's mom. I thank you for a new phone. So thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. I hung out with them. I saw my aunt. My aunt is flying back to Switzerland. She lives in Switzerland now. She's going to fly back tomorrow, I think. So it was the last day for me to see her. Drank some homemade rakia, and I brought back home. And you want to see, this is homemade. You want to see how cringe the bottle is? What it's actually like? I'll just show it. I didn't even know this was a thing. It's a Peaky Blinders whiskey. This is like McDonald's of whiskey, probably. Like, oh, let's name it after the show. A couple of chuds are going to buy it, probably. Don't get me wrong. I love the Peaky Blinders, but I can't imagine this not being just a marketing stunt, right? So it's serving a better purpose now. Serving a 50 proof grape rakia. Very, very decent. 8 out of 10. Not bad. Not great, not terrible. It's not bad. Because a grape can only go up to 8. You got to do plum or something else, or what do you call it? A pear or something, in order to go up to a 9 or a 10. Grape for rakia peaks at 8. Grape rakia is okay. I'm not saying it's bad. I love it, but it just can't have the complexities. Cape Cod Communist. Thank you very much for the Prime. I think my future wife worked as a slave on Cape Cod for a couple of summers, for one summer. Once in Cape Cod, and then in the other rich people place, Nantucket. It was Nantucket. Nantucket? Yes, Nantucket. A wine place. She served Obama. And I have a friend who was a server on Hillary Clinton's I think it was Bill Clinton's wedding, but Hillary Clinton organized it. Imagine you fly over for a work and travel to work as a waiter for 4 months, that you can pay your university, and all of a sudden you're serving Hillary fucking Clinton. Holy shit. They must pay you a premium just to resist not doing the world a favor. You know what I mean? You may have worked with my sister. You never know. I'm the single remaining laborer who grew up here. Good for you, brother. Stay strong. Stay very, very strong, my friend. Do you knows ContraPoints? Yes, we are very old friends. We are very old friends. We grew up together in the during the atheism era of YouTube. We debated the intricacies of being like, oh, there's no God, bro. Also, women are whores. Lovely. Anyways, welcome to chat. I hope you're all doing. That's basically what I did. I drove today. I drove back. So energy levels are going to be a bit on the low side in the first 10, 20 minutes. And then we're going to start a hype train or something, which basically feels like doing smack. And I'm going to feel great again. Okay. They were in the toaster together. Bread tubers have to stick together like sticky bread. Okay. I am not a bread tuber. I am a vodka tuber. Because the masses, you know what Engels said. Engels said drinking is the fucking hell. What the fuck did he say? Who the fuck is Engels? Who am I? Engels on drinking quote. He's the fuck. Thank you, I don't think so. True motherfucking true in the beginning. Anaconda with the first motherfucking 10. Yes, up today my bit is going to be screaming at oil the way YouTubers used to scream in the late 2010s. Okay, so Anaconda with the 10. Thank you very much, Anaconda. Sick as hell. Like I'm gonna like do that bit where I'm annoying, but it's kind of funny because it's ironic. Thank you, Anaconda. Hype train level 4. Friedrich Engels. No, there's a quote. Help me with the fucking quote about drinking that he had. A popular quote often attributed is the less you eat, drink, and read books, the less you go to the theater, the dance hall, the public house, the more capital you accrue. So therefore, the more capital you accrue, the more lifeless you are, etc., etc. But I'm looking for another one that is very stupid. Something about drinking and working masses. It was one sentence. Thank you, Anaconda, for being our beautiful first tax. Oh my God! And Crisco comes in 2014 style. He shoots. He scores. The 225. The crowd goes wild. Says, la 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 la. Everybody's freaking out. They are foaming at their mouth. White boys are hitting every drywall they can find. Going fucking insane. Thank you, Crisco. Level 8 at the start. That's how we do it. It is 2018 again, baby. It is time to watch some Ben Shapiro videos about purple-haired women doing stuff in theaters, in schools. Da-na-na-na-na-na-na-na. Like, Summer of 89 music starts playing in the background. Thank you, Crisco. Thank you, Anaconda, for starting us out with the first Western tax of the week. Thank you, Crisco, for being a fucking G, like always. Do you guys like this screaming thing? This bit where I'm screaming? Do you like it? I'm kind of enjoying it. I don't think so. Comes, whips out that fucking hog, starts pissing all over the white boys. Everybody's losing their mind. What the fuck? It's not even the first 30 minutes of stream. Everybody's oiling. I don't think so. Is oiling on Crisco. Anaconda's in between. They're like, oh my God, the oil. They're slipping everywhere. They're sliding down the stairs. All three of their mothers look at them naked. They're like, oh my God, that is disgusting. Then their mothers start making out. I think I'm overdoing it. It is crazy. They're covered in oil. Their moms are right there. They're kissing. What is going to happen next? Catherine comes in with a 10, starts making out with their mothers. Holy fucking shit. Why is Catherine stop? No, not with my mom, Catherine. Catherine, stop. McGinn comes in, brings in the dads. No, not the dads, too. At least dads kiss the moms. I think that's normal. No, McGinn says, I'm going to kiss all of your dads. McGinn goes, starts kissing your dads right in front of you as your moms are kissing with Catherine on the side. Everybody's kissing. You get a kiss. You get a kiss. You get a kiss. It is a kissing hype train. Number go up. True motherfucking true. What's gonna happen next? I'm just riffing here, okay? FM Masochist, thank you for the 11 months. FM Masochist sits in the corner and records. Okay, yeah. Oh my God, I thought it's gonna end. Shifty Pizza is walking in the room. Everybody's moms and dads are making out. Everybody's covered in oil and rubbing on each other. And Shifty Pizza's like, I brought pizzas. As he enters the room, he drops them on the floor. And he's like, what the fuck are you freaks doing? Everybody sees the pizzas, runs past Shifty, starts eating the pizza. Now we got oil, we got mom saliva, we got dad saliva, we got pizzas being eaten. Shifty's fucking getting the fuck out of there. But not before he grabs one dad, like in a comic cartoon way, where he's like holding him under his arm. Shifty starts running away with one of the dads, screaming, "You took my pizzas! At least I'm gonna get a dad now." Thank you very much, Shifty Pizza. What's gonna happen next? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Tell me if I can't invent, like, I am the king of the most random bits that makes no sense. That was a bit. Need you to stop, please. My brain can't. This was an insane round of Mad Libs. Step comrade, what are you doing with all that oil? Who's getting a dill? Can you even do a dart wheel? You can't be yelling like that if you can't do one. What's a cartwheel? What the fuck is a cartwheel? Cartwheel. What is cartwheel, товарищ? The jump thing? I used to be able to. Now I am 64, unfortunately, my friend. I have gone at it with your dad too often, okay? I give him all those hips, so I don't have the hip strength anymore. I'm fucking with. You paint a beautiful picture. Thank you, Crisco. Real recognizes real, okay? Base, there are serious thoughts in Sweden that the main songwriter is a Nazi. It's very unfortunate. I heard a lot about it. It's not going to undermine the main song being really good, but if you contextualize it from a Nazi perspective, you're like, wait, is he singing about Hitler? Is this song about Hitler? The man is dead, but not his ideals. What? Happy nation? What? But I am very proud of. I don't follow the logic of something immediately being toxic because it's necessarily associated, especially with retired freaks. I do what the right wingers do. They steal our music and our aesthetics all the time. I love just stealing it. Oh no, I don't give a shit. It's a good song. Except with Kanye West because he's still relevant, right? There I don't fuck with that shit. I'm Swedish just for context. Of course, brother, you don't have to give me your haplogroup, bro. I believe you. My guy's like, but Kanye did graduation, bro. Anyways, hype train is left. What is going to happen next in the story? Only you can save it by pushing the hype train into the next level. Right now, Shifty Pizza is running away with one of the dads. Everybody else is kissing. Oh my God! Crisco stands up, his body literally mutating into a large, muscular, but also surprisingly thick creature. He throws off all the oil from his body and slowly gains a strong, furry coat. He screams, "Your oil can do nothing to me now. I will have all the dads and all the mums." He slides, but in a very non-aggressive, but very, very passionate and elegant, almost Italian, but from Italy, not from the States way, and grabs all the mums and all the dads. He howls to the sky and also asks for a little pizza bite. And one of the mums, whose mum, McGin's mum, gives him a slight bite, and then he jumps through the roof and runs out with all the mums and the dads chasing after 50 Pizza, who has the last dead dad, thinking in his mind, I will collect all the mothers and all the fathers, and my MILF DILF polycule shall be perfected. MILF DILF furry polycule shall be perfected. That's where this is going. The rest of the Oilers stand in the background. Now just oiled without nothing freaky to look at. Will they chase after him? Will they do something about this furry DILF stealing all of their mothers and fathers? Or will they say, okay, I think that's enough, guys. We should go home. Only they can say. You show us your Pornhub history. Pornhub vanilla. Imagine. Imagine if I was still on Pornhub. That's so fucking funny. Do you think I am a child? Raccoon Priest, thank you very much for the 3 months. Snufkin. Snufkin. Okay, how do I add you? As Crisco is running into the forest, carrying all the mothers and fathers, a small pup. Turns out it is the son of Crisco. Snufkin runs up to Snufkin and says, bark, bark, Dad. And Crisco says, here, you can have one mother as a gift. Snufkin goes, bark, bark, grabs one of the mother, slowly transforms into a slightly larger wolf, and starts running right next to his father. The picture is beautiful. The sun is shining above him. So is the mood. There is a beautiful cityscape as well. You know, they're running over it, very AI style. It looks like the camera angle is kind of like the one of that like super old scary video where they're panning over a car driving down a street and then a monster pops. Right? That's how it's panning over Crisco and Snufkin running into their future with all those fathers and mothers. What is this bit called? It is called Yugopnik Hype Train Improv. Crisco, very kind of you. Seriously. Raccoon Priest, Snufkin, the 50 Pizza, Masochist, McGinn, Catherine, Big Cock Catherine. Very nice to see you, Big Cock Catherine. Crisco 86, Anaconda, the absolute legend, always starts us out. Thank you so kindly. For the Hipetrine level 12, I am more than happy. If you want to push it further, God bless, I'll give you a story. I believe I've counted all of you. 6. I think I've counted all of you. I should have counted all of you. Okie dokie, Chabaroki. Welcome to yet another stream. Today we are starting out with a recap with the kneecap. Before we do that, I must remind all of you to go and check out the legendary. Oh, we have a chatter in here like from the liked videos that it showed. We have the legendary Sam Cedar on the reaction pod. The episode is doing fucking fantastic. For a podcast episode, these are crazy fucking numbers, 36,000. So I suggest you click the link and then just click like on it so you have it shared on your playlist and you can check it out later. What is the podcast about? If you don't know, it's us trying to counter the digital right one step at a time, together with 2 incredible co-hosts, Freda the historian, Mike the political organizer and streamer. It's a fucking blast. We'll be recording most likely on Friday, maybe not. We will see. Check out the show, exclamation point reaction. You see it. Thank you very, very, very kindly for everybody that supported that particular episode because it low-key blew up. Thank you very much. Also, thank you for 10,000 subscribers in basically 3 weeks on the fucking thing. That's based as shit. So, let's get it started. The recap with the motherfucking kneecap brought to us by our legendary producer, Ironhead Socialist. I'm kidding. Cuphead Socialist. Cuphead, thank you very much. When you support the show, you also support our producer. 10% of all revenue, not profit, revenue goes to Cuphead. Okay, now, 6th of May, 2026, Revenge of the 6th. That's what you get for no stream yesterday. How the fuck was I supposed to... Oh, god damn it. I'm kidding. Thank you. Okay, let us start out. For those of you who are new, recap with the kneecap is us basically catching up with everything that we've missed since the last stream so that everybody's on the same page as we start tackling the news. Now, let's start out with the top stories. From Fars, we have 2 missiles have hit a U.S. Navy vessel after it ignored Iran's warning, forcing it to turn back. An additional French ship was attacked, injuring several. Still unclear who attacked it. Axios, U.S. and Iran nearing one-page memo to end the war with 14 points, would immediately end hostilities and trigger a 30-day intensive negotiation period. Hasnem, 15 Iranian crew members of a container ship seized by the U.S. returned via transfer through Pakistan. NPR, GameStop announced an unsolicited offer to acquire eBay for $56 billion, offering $125 a share. Is this suspicious? Is this suspicious? Is it 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 suspicious? Was that the suspicious song? Suspicious. Suspicious. Is it suspicious? Suspicious. Yeah, I think it's suspicious. Okay. France 24. A single-engine plane crashed into a 3-story residential building in Brazil, killing the pilot, co-pilot, and 1 passenger. Fucking hell. Jinhua, I always hope I pronounced that properly, blast at fireworks factory in China's Hunan kills 21. That was crazy. And injures at least 61. President Xi called for an investigation into an incident. People will be shot, is all I can say. People will be shot. Like, the people that fucked up, like, should hope that they died at the thing. As if they didn't. Jesus Christ. They're not going to have a fun day. BBC. WHO reported 7 hantavirus cases on the cruise ship MV Hondius. 3 are dead, 1 critically ill, 3 have mild symptoms. It has been anchored in Cape Verde since Saturday. This is pretty crazy. This is pretty wild. This is a movie script. Straight out of a movie script, right? Today's news is pretty wild. I'm not going to lie. Deutsche Welle. NHS is rolling out a 1-minute injectable immunotherapy drug for over 12 cancers, cutting admin time by 90%, prep by 44%. Prior to this, it took 45 minutes, 100 milliliter IV drips. Pretty cool shit. I always was so fucking scared of I'm incredibly lucky and privileged human being. Genuinely, thank you to the universe. I've never had like an IV drip like slid in me, and I know that it's strange that I am less afraid of, for example, breaking my leg and waking up in hospital with a broken leg than waking up with a broken leg in the hospital with one of those needles that it has to stay in my arm for like hours. That is, I'm pretty sure some of you guys have not been as lucky as me and needed to even stay in the hospital for long. But I'm going to lose my mind even thinking about it. Those thingies. Oh, Jesus. I can't even. Oh, man, I'm getting a fucking heart attack. Jesus Christ. Not a heart attack. I'm shitting my bricks, dude. That's. You get used to it. No, you don't. Fucking shank me, bro. Get weird for about 5 minutes and then you forget it's there. You can just have more courage than me. I would lose my mind. But you get to inject the morphine yourself. You're like, you had 2 teeth pulled out while awake and you were afraid of that? Yes, absolutely. It's a thingy inside. Oh my God. No. Jesus Christ. I am a man whose nose was broken 3 times. There you go. Awake, teeth pulling. I can't even fully fucking open this fucking finger because of how many goddamn idiotic childhood fights I've been in. But you show me a needle or a spider with a big ass, okay? A spider with a BBL and I'm running like a fucking child, okay? I am sprinting the fuck out of there, dude. I have an extreme phobia of needles. Passed out during my first piercing. Has incredible phobia of needles. Goes to get pierced. 50 pizza never change, you fucking savage. No, I like spiders. It's fine. But fucking Slavs, man, happy to start World War One, but scared of needles. Motherfucker, we never started World War One. You Western supremacist piece of shit. I'm kidding. God bless it. That was a funny joke. Another thing Slavs are afraid of is jokes. We don't do those. Hugo, that's so Mo. Who's Mo? I have like 5 more I want. Oh my God. We should ban cruises. Probably. I don't know. I do not have opinions on cruises. I need to be more informed. My only opinion on cruises is that I would never go on one. My father has been on a cruise like 2 years ago, and he tells me it's amazing, but that's either because he's very old or because he is lying to me. I feel like he gave a lot of money and he fucking hated it, but he cannot admit to having fucked up. So he's like, no, man, it was awesome. I have a feeling he hated it. Because he's the type of old guy. He was a great dad, don't get me wrong. Extremely tough, but good dad. He's not a good person towards other people, Jesus Christ, but towards me, he is. And he was always like the type of guy, I raised a child. I do not want any children around me, okay? I don't want, like, if I go to a beach, I want it to be like a child-free beach. I want to drink my fucking beer and enjoy myself. I don't want all the toddlers running everywhere, right? So I don't think he accounted for how many children there are on cruises. So just because of that, I think he hated it. Aren't cruises like nonstop, just children screaming? Unless it's an adult-only cruise that he didn't go to. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. I think Mo means cute. Thank you. You're cute. Cruises is only amazing if old. I guess they just drive you around everywhere. There's hella kids and you're all gonna get norovirus. Dude, this year's crazy for get back on track. This is a stream, Cuphead. I talk to chat, okay? I talk to chat. It's a part of the thing. Cuphead is like, go back to reading the slides. I'm talking to chat. They are learning more about you. No, you do the news now, you monkey. You use like, I love you, Cuphead. See, I'm being bullied by my producer. What the fuck, dude? Put the news in the bag, newsman. But just last time, it's a bad year for problematic tourist destinations. First, we have Dubai, which is going to have a very tough time going back to pre-war numbers when it comes to people going there. And now we have cruises that are going to be associated with, life-changing viruses. Nice to see you, Insomnia. How you doing? Okay, let's go to the next one. Vice. Vice, that's a source. That's a fucking source, Cuphead. That's a source. Go back to the news, man. You're giving me Vice as a fucking source. There you go. You see how nasty I can be too? Kisses. I'm fucking around. With Cuphead, you always gotta say I'm fucking around, because if you don't say I'm fucking around, she will literally write, "Oh, I'm so sorry for fucking up." God damn it. Next, Vice. Researchers discovered, and this is a compliment to Cuphead. There you go. I have to always. Jesus Christ. Next, Vice. Researchers discover that scorpions reinforce their stingers and pincers with metals like zinc, manganese, and iron to enhance durability. Scorpions be hella crazy. In other news, the Toronto Star comes to us with Canadian Immigration Minister Diab announced plan to fast-track permanent residency for up to 33,000 temporary foreign workers. AP, the U.S. Secret Service, returned fire at a gunman near the White House yesterday, wounding him and briefly triggering a lockdown. PBS. U.S. military struck a boat in the Caribbean Sea, killing 2 people claimed it traveled along known drug smuggling routes. Thank you for the news. Now let us do a quick 2 truths and a lie. What scared you there, huh? Because lies are scary. You have the ability to use your channel points to vote which of these 3 options is a lie. Basically, finally, for the first time in your life, you can tell your mom, Mom, I told you that I can put my knowledge of Donald Trump into something productive. Well, there you go, Mom, fuck you. You can make channel points and you got my Twitch. You can bet with your channel points. Let me read the 3. Look at the poll that should be up already. It's not up. Put it up and vote for either of these 3. Let us start with A. I will soon be reviewing the plan that Iran has just sent us, but can't imagine that it would be acceptable in that they have not yet paid. Fuck you, Mom. I'm gambling and you got me towards my throat, dude. Have not yet paid a big enough price for what they've done to humanity and the world. I hate America. I fucking hate America. So, oh my God, dude. Bombs country. Proceeds to call people he bombed enemies of humanity. But hey, it might be fake. Then we have B. Low IQ, Democrat minority leader Hakeem Jeffries is nothing but a thug. And he is a danger to our country. And then we have C. I had a call with President Putin to discuss ending the war in Ukraine, which would have never happened if I was president and caused by Sleepy Joe. And we have a preliminary agreement which will be presented to Ukraine by Steve Witkoff. That is C. Vote, 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 vote. I want to see this terrible war end quickly, and I think it will. There's a tell. I know which one it's not, is fake, and there's a tell. Like, look at the screen. Look at the screen. Read it. Read it. Read it. There's a tell. There's a tell. Cuphead fucked up. Cuphead fucked up in a cool way. Like, she gave you a good, like, little tip. That might not be it. That might not be it. It might be. It might not be it. Let me blow my nose. We have 70,000 on A, 46,000 on B, and 69,000 on C, and the truth will set you free. It's C. You know what the tidbit was? I proved that I know what you're talking about. Which would have never happened if I was president and caused by Sleepy Joe. Cause, not caused. You missed a D here. When writing the fake one, she missed a D. Let's see who the big winners are, and more importantly, who the bitch-ass losers are. Let us all make sure to point and laugh at the biggest losers of today's game. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. One, oh my God, by any means necessary, has lost 50,000 channel points, chat. Let us all please point and laugh. I want point and laugh at by any means necessary. You're one of my favorite chatters by any means necessary, but this is so fucking humiliating. Next, we have 20,000 for I don't think so, who's a professional loser at this game at this point. And our biggest winner is with only 15,000, but still, Spooky Street. Spooky Street was really sure. Congratulations to Spooky Street for not being by any means necessary. Good chat, good. Be mean to the loser. Be exceptionally mean. Point and laugh hysterically. Ha 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 ha. Cause irreversible trauma. Yes, yes. Somebody comes into by any means necessary's room. Why are you crying? There's 500 people laughing at me. Oh, oh. There's a mean guy in a mask that told 500 people to laugh at me. Meow, 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 meow. Anyways, last week's top Oilers. Oh, the incredible surprise here. Literally no surprise. Crisco at number one. Let us all say W to Crisco. All say W to Chris Liquor Anarchist. He made me pull out an anarchist flag last week. That was a fucking hilarious. That was a really fun bit. And Lady Zafira, you legend. Thank you very much for your third spot. The next time Mugamba, you guys will have free spins if you choose to use them. You absolutely deserve them. And one day, and probably in like 18 years, when I finally create the masks, I will be sending you guys free masks. I mean, the future top orders. So thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I think Crisco's going to have more competition this week. I don't think so going hard. Catherine, Big Dick Catherine is back. Anaconda's probably going to compete for the spot. Lady Zafira is going to compete for the spot. The Anarchists are probably going to be back. It's going to be interesting. But good job. Good job, Crisco. Thank you very much. Okay, Crisco, of course, Anarchist and Lady Zafira. Big W for all three of them. Thank you very much. And happy birthday, belated, yesterday to our beloved dad. Okay? Happy birthday, Dad. Thank you for devising an analysis that basically ruined my life and everybody else's here. We would have been ignorant little idiots, considering our bosses our family, and would have just run through life impoverished but happy because we would not have the ability to contextualize our poverty, nor would we have the ability to know that we can do something about it. So, yeah, fuck you, Dad. Everybody, fuck Karl Marx, because without him, this shit would have been a lot easier. Let's go, chat. Fuck Karl Marx. Fuck Karl Marx. Jokes aside, thank you, Daddy. Fucking legends. Foxlish, thank you, Daddy. No, you should have beef with Marx and Engels because do you understand how ignorant and fucking happy you would be right now? Ignorance is bliss, but bliss is overrated. Like, don't get me wrong. Fuck bliss. Fuck comfort. I piss in comfort's mouth. Okay? But it doesn't mean, but the only way I can discern and say fuck bliss is because of this piece of shit. Okay? Class consciousness. All of history is warfare. Contradictions. Class society. Fucking imperialism. All the time. Oh, fucking the never-ending horrors of existence are now visible to me, and I must swim through an empty, infinite, dark sea filled with serpents and demons and pressure. I do like MDMA though. So is a Carl. Damn it, Carl. So is a Carl. 2 pregnancies worth. Goosted. I know you're going to be a great parent to both of our dads. Both of our dads? Both of our kids. Are they all purple? Are all the kids purple skinned? Without all these books, I would have so much room for Funko Pops, right? So many Funkies. Like, imagine Funko Pops would make you happy. Imagine that. They would kind of make you happy for like a day or two. Thank you, Dumb Plank. Santa Claus of theory and ruining easy lives. Anyways, why are there no knock-knock jokes about the United States? Because freedom rings. Unfortunately, I do not have a gun here because you would have watched a live self Minecraft. Okay. Thank you very much to our producer, and thank you, Crisco, for the gifty. Thank you very much to our producer for the fantastic presentation today. Now let's start out with all the news and then talk about Matt Walsh's slavery documentary from the prison of Freda. That's going to be sick as fuck. Okay, let's go.
Has announced the operation to help commercial ships sail through the Strait of Hormuz will be paused less than 48 hours after it began. He said it's because there's been progress toward a deal with Iran and wrote on social media, "We have mutually agreed that while the blockade will remain in full force and effect, Project Freedom will be paused for a short period of time to see whether or not the agreement can be finalised and signed." The president's post comes just hours after his Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, said the initial US-Israeli offensive in Iran was over, with all its objectives achieved. That's despite Iran continuing to threaten navigation in the Strait of Hormuz and the US still hoping to negotiate an end to the Iranian nuclear program.
Nick Shirley, when the Cuban intelligence agents opened the metal briefcase and pulled out a copy of The Very Hungry Caterpillar. I was almost taken hostage in Cuba. I went to Cuba to document the humanitarian crisis, show life under 60 plus years of communism, and now amid the US blockade. Once I landed, I seized all my cameras except my iPhone and had intelligence agencies following me all day until my security noticed their spies tailing us to the hotel where they waited all night for us to come down. Under communism, there is no free speech. If listening to you is free speech, I don't want any of that. And those who show the reality or speak up are in prison. Me going without a planned Cuban government guide nearly got me and my security taken hostage and in prison. The situation in Cuba is much worse than anyone knows. That's why I said that this fucking guy is a subhuman. Like, he is actually like exceptionally mentally ill and should not be given absolutely any access to Twitter, because he's gonna do immense damage both to himself and other people. Like, this guy's like actually like just a walking organic clanker. You know, he's a GPT. He just generates shit. And then that she gets 153,000 likes. 153,000 lives. I can't believe they stopped me from cutting propaganda against a small nation state that is currently under threat from the world's biggest superpower. Dude, this is drama baiting. He's applying classic YouTube drama baiting to international politics. He went there hoping that something like this happens, and of course it fucking happened. You've given speeches at TPUSA, bro. Okay, the president of the United States has shouted out your work, which is hyper focused on dehumanizing a whole group of people in the States as some sort of de facto corrupt pirate terrorists or whatever the fuck. Of course, Cuba won't fucking allow you in there. Same way the United States will not allow somebody who directly collaborates, who is like a famous pro-government journalist in Cuba itself. Even talks about stealing a boat to flee back to Miami in that. I can't listen to his voice.
The largest humanitarian crisis they've had in maybe 50 years. And there's
nothing behind these eyes. Like, there's nothing behind these eyes. Like, absolutely nothing. I don't think one would feel like the same feeling of like, no, everything I want to say is TOS. I can't even say it in an edgy way. This is like, he's just purely guided by a right-wing algorithm, nothing else. Like, we can't even make an episode on this guy on the Reaction podcast, because the whole episode would be basically us describing the process of lobotomizing yourself. You understand? Like, Tucker Carlson is a complex human being. Nick Fuentes is a complex human being. Asmongold is a complex human being. They're interesting in the same way you would find a diseased rat that you open up interesting to look at, right? They're interesting specimen to the sect. This is not an interesting specimen to the sect. He is not human to an extent. You know? He is human. He has his humanity, Twitch. He is not human in the sense of being able to compute and process information on the same levels that an adult human is capable of. So before you ban me, the context is I'm calling him exceptionally stupid. I'm not dehumanizing him. This is just a stupid white boy with 153,000 likes. So I agree with you, brother, but this is on top. I can't believe, like, that's why, like, Nick Shirley makes me more angry than anyone else. Arguably, because it shows how pathetic reactionary movements are, that if you have the intellectual capacity of a fucking donkey, but you simply are also, like, so stupid that you have no shame whatsoever, and you go into places with cameras and try to pitch the most basic, okay, right-wing talking points, you will get immeasurable popularity and a massive fucking platform. His popularity terrifies me because it insinuates something about the human project that I do not yet want to, like, think about. What is that? That some of you are unfucking salvageable. Now you chat. Nick Shirley is faking his Cuba censorship. It turns out this dumbass didn't read anything about Cuba's requirement for a carnet, a passport for goods. For professional camera equipment in many countries, including Cuba, you need to get a carnet to bring it into the country. Japan also has a similar rule, along with U.S. and a lot of Europe. This has nothing to do with censorship. If you wanted to censor him, he's a social media influencer. You'd simply seize his phone. This would be like if the police took your guns and left you with a fully loaded AR-15. Japan is not trying to censor you if you fly to the country with Pelican cases of camera gear without the proper documentation. Interesting perspective. Maybe that's true. Yeah, maybe that's true. Maybe, yeah, that could be true. That could be true. They probably would have taken his phone instead. That's why I'm getting angry, because there's absolutely a massive chance that they went to this guy and they told him, you don't have certification to bring in this equipment into the country. You didn't declare it, quite literally, and then take it. And for him to unironically, genuinely actually think, they heard I'm coming, so they're not going to let me report unless I have another guy following me. This is a country under half a century of American blockades. It is basically a country in the state of economic war against the United States of America. You, an American known for supporting the very government that absolutely despises the Cuban people and that has started this particular blockade, okay? You're an active member of the Republican Party. Going to their country is a provocation the size of a fucking star. So even if this is censorship, this is what any country that is experiencing something like this would happen. Okay? Go to Ukraine and go to Ukraine and start making epic Trump making fun of Le Ukraine jokes. Let's see how that fucking goes. Or go to Russia and make le epic Zelensky jokes close to the front. See how that goes. Come on, man. These are countries in combat mode. Even if they did censor him, that's okay. I don't mind that. That's fucking fine. But there's a big chance what this person, right-wing Cope, said. There's a big chance they're right that this fucking troglodyte, lobotomite fucking dog, okay, little frog man here, little mayonnaise brick, just didn't understand what the border guards told him. Plot twist: the Cuban police is trying to tell him that him staying in that hotel is illegal. Most countries would not let you go into the country if they wanted to censor you. They wouldn't allow you in, then send some people spy on you. That's stupid. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. Maybe they want to kidnap Nick Shirley, hold him as a hostage against the blockade. That would be very funny. That would be very funny. Nick Shirley, now kidnapped by the Cuban government. The Cuban people are demanding an end to the blockade, and in return, they will give them back Nick Shirley. The American people responded by double blockading Cuba and saying, please kill him. Please, please, we don't want him back. Please kill him. When played the video to Nick Shirley about how his fellow Americans have betrayed them, Nick Shirley swore and said, I want to become a communist. The Cuban communist looked him straight in the eye and said, in order for you to do that, you need to not be a lobotomite. The Cuban Communist Party only accepts humans, and that, sir, you little wormy little rat, you are not. Therefore, we are about to execute you. No, Cuba says end the blockade and we'll keep Nick Shirley. Ha, 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 ha. That's a great bit. That's a better bit than mine. Thank you, I know some stuff, for the fucking legendary 28 months, you beautiful motherfucker. Hi chat, irrelevant comment. I don't know if you guys know, but the YouTube app for mobile phones has the option to to hype a video, which pushes new videos up on a weekly leaderboard. What many don't know is that while you can hype 3 times per week, you can actually hype the same video 3 times. If you do the following: 1, hype; 2, exit the app; re-enter the app, re-hype, saying this for the reaction. What? Chat, let's open our phones and see if this is true. How the fuck do I hype things? Can hype things? Okay, so now I watched the reaction podcast episode. Okay, this one, I'm watching the reaction podcast. And how do I hype it now? Download, report, create link, copy. Where's the hype? It'll be a regional update. Maybe. I have remix, I have save, I have download, I have report, I have share. No, it shows up on new videos for me. Maybe, yeah. But those of you who can hype, I guess, hype it. Thank you very much for that information. That's very interesting. Nick Shirley did go to Ukraine. What? Nick Shirley went to Ukraine? What?
Now I'm going to show you guys the reality of this war, as I'm going to be starting here at this hospital that was recently bombed by the Russians. So a missile attack was launched on this hospital and killed over 30 people, and 100 people were injured. What would you say the Ukrainian spirit is with the war?
Just be Ukrainians. Be brave Ukrainians.
They're born with a tremendous speed, so it penetrates like everything around you.
I love this man's face. Okay, I'll watch this. This was a year ago, only 100,000 views. I'm not going to watch the whole thing. How did it go? How does the video go? Thank you, Vana Lana, for the 7 months. But did he bring up like pro-Russian arguments while being there? I fucking doubt it. Maybe he did. No, maybe he did. I wonder how that went. Probably the same way it would go if you make pro-American arguments in fucking Cuba. Agitate. But did he not get abducted and passed into service? That's not how it works, bro, but that would be funny. Check the comments.
Yeah, that's because of the pressure.
Check the comments. It does better reporting than MSNBC. Nick is out here doing actual journalism. Please stay safe. The harvest has already begun. It would be better for us to gather bread on our land and not landmines. Relax, American. It's okay. You'll be fine. Trust this guy more than mainstream media. Yeah, you Americans are so fucking cooked. You're completely fucking... I'm kidding. No, you're not. There's great hope in you. You're a contrasting society, a contrasting people. But God fucking do not produce some of the world's fucking nastiest slop. Anyways, response to everything is always alcohol. It's not in this cup then. Let's finally start the news. Bog s nami, mi narkomani.
Mr. Rubio spent about 50 minutes answering questions from the media. Let's get more on what he had to say from our North America correspondent, David Willis. Hello, David. So he got quite a grilling. Talk us through it.
Yes, he did, Sally. He answered questions for quite some time in the White House press briefing room, and he announced, most crucially, the end of Operation Epic Fury. That's the basic combat mission name that was given to the US and Israel assault, if you like, on Iran. Mr. Rubio said that the focus now would be on Project Freedom, and that was a defensive operation that the United States was launching to basically guide vessels, oil tankers in particular, through the Strait of Hormuz, which, of course, Iran had also claimed it was in control of. Well, only a few minutes, a couple of hours, I should say, after Mr. Rubio had concluded his remarks and stepped down from the lectern, President Trump went on social media, Truth Social, to announce that basically Project Freedom was a thing of the past, a day and a half after it had come into operation. The president saying, as you mentioned, that he was pausing the operation in order to make time for talks between, or to capitalize on talks between the US and Iran, which he seemed to think were bearing fruit. What are we to make of all this? I mean, frankly, your guess is as good as mine.
What I make of all of this is the slow decline of unipolarity. I know I'm boring with this continuous fucking preaching of said unipolarity, but kind of, they have no idea what the fuck to do. Thank you, Pink Hale. 24-hour fold, 1 week fold. They had multiple 2-week folds. The war is what, in its 65th day or something? It's absurd. Thank you, Pink Hale. Thank you very much, Pink.
It does seem that Project Freedom, that move by the US to guide ships through the Strait of Hormuz, had antagonized Iran. They had promised to attack ships that were going through escort.
Reminder, we hit the first hour. To subscribe, support the show. $6 a month, free through Prime. We have no ads, no sponsors, completely grassroots funded. You get plenty of fucking benefits. You get discounts. You get gamba. You get to support the biggest the biggest international political community on here. If you like what we do, if you think we're building a nice community, if you like the message we try to push, and more importantly, if you have some fucking fun over here, bro, if you have some fucking fun over here, do consider supporting the show either individually or by patriotically paying your taxes, !tax, to see how that works. Thank you, Atreides Nuts, for filling up my Hormuz with that beautiful Prime. I love that Prime Hormuzi because you know why Prime subs are very sexy? Because they're very monogamous. They're very monogamous. Like you got that 1 or 2 Primes, right, that you can use a month. And when somebody drops it on me, I'm like, damn, I'm really your like #1 baby mama, dude. Like I am your damn, at least for the month. Incredible privilege being dropped the Prime. Being dropped the Prime, basically you're telling me I'm your Prime, which is incredibly sexy. The only thing sexier than dropping a Prime, of course, is dropping some oil, okay? Oiling me up Canadian Slavic style, okay? Anaconda style, okay? Is she a snake? Is she a Slavic woman? Is she a combination of both? She is a combination of both. Thank you so much. W. Anaconda. I do love Croatians, Yugoslavs. It's okay. You can call me a Balkanoid. It's okay. It's okay. Slavs accept slurs thrown at us. Just don't call me. No, actually, call me whatever you. You're my prime dime, Hugo. Thank you, Pink Kale. You're my prime dime too. Because I love me some kale.
By the US, but is the US on the verge of some sort of agreement?
Bro, I'm Albanian. Jesus Christ. Call you a fucking Hrvat. I know. It's crazy. It's crazy that I have Hrvatsko in me. When I say I'm literally mixed between all of them, I'm literally mixed between all of them. Albanian. I know you don't believe that country exists, but still. This Albanian. Over there, Macedonian. Over there, they make the cevapi. Over here, we make the kebapi. Macedonian. North Korea amends constitution to drop goal of reunification. That's fucking crazy. Interesting. I don't know. North Korea's. I don't find DPRK conversations particularly interesting. I believe Albania exists. Eric Adams went there. I got to visit Croatia and Slovenia when I was in Europe. Beautiful places with wonderful history. Thank you.
With Iran over its nuclear stockpile, something that President Trump suggested might be the case in that Truth Social posting this evening. We really don't know, and the next few days may perhaps shine some light on it, or maybe not.
Yeah, interesting, David, in terms of what might happen next, because the price of oil has come down in the hope, I'm assuming, that there could be some negotiation in the near future between both sides.
That's
and
what
of
I'm
course, we've got
referencing.
Iran's foreign minister in China, and China may exert some pressure on Iran to reopen that strait, because for China it's very important.
Well, that's true. And of course, if you're to believe Donald Trump, then it is Pakistan that has been exerting pressure as well, Sally, seeking to get the two sides back to the negotiating table. But of course, there's only been one face-to-face negotiation between the two sides since this conflict began towards the end of February, and that resulted in the two sides walking away still a long way apart. So a lot of questions. Among them, of course, what happens to the 1,600 or so vessels still stranded in the Strait of Hormuz, some of which have been there for up to 2 months, with sailors, according to Marco Rubio, in some cases dying of starvation. We will just have to wait and see.
Okay, David, thank you very much indeed. David Willis there with the latest from the White House. Well, let's now focus on Iran's foreign minister's trip to China. He is in Beijing and has begun a meeting with his Chinese counterpart. Asked about that visit, Secretary of State Marco Rubio had this to say.
I hope the Chinese tell him what he needs to be told, and that is that what you are doing in the Straits is causing you to be globally isolated. You're the bad guy in this. You guys should not be blowing up ships. You should not be putting mines. You should not be holding hostage the global, trying to hold hostage.
Being dropped by the... oh my... I love Americans.
The global economy.
How do you say this with a straight face, my dude? How do you say this with a straight face? Starts an unnecessary war, causes global recession, causes greatest oil crisis in history. Says, I'm going to attack them because they might have a weapon that can destroy the world. Because they attacked them, they discovered they do have a weapon that can destroy the world, holding the Strait of Hormuz, basically giving them an economic nuclear weapon. Then proceeds to bitch like a little bitch about how stop the bit of Hormuz Strait. Eat shit, circumcised American piece of shit.
It is in China's interest that Iran stop closing the straits. It's harming China as well.
Circumcised Persian ding dong fucking swallowing Yankistani circumcised Ding dong.
Well, let's go live to Beijing now. Our China correspondent there is Stephen McDonald.
Welcome,
Stephen,
China correspondent, man.
Is Iran's foreign minister in meetings with Wang Yi right now?
Yes, that's right. And what we're waiting for is the official readout, which will come at some point. This is the sort of notes that both governments give us. It's not a verbatim record of what's said, but will give us the highlights of points discussed. Certainly in terms of what the governments want to tell us, though. The interesting thing about this, though, is why are they meeting face to face? Why has Iran's foreign minister flown all the way to Beijing for this meeting when these two foreign ministers have had plenty of phone conversations since the war started? And I think most analysts would say it's because it's in the lead up to Donald Trump visiting here later next week. China would love to be able to say to the US, look, we're doing our best to end the gridlock in the Strait of Hormuz. We've been having these discussions with the Iranian government on that front. Now, we heard US Secretary of State Marco Rubio saying that basically Wang Yi should be reading the Riot Act to the Iranian government, saying that you're the bad guys in all this. You should stop blocking that strait because, and it's because of your actions that you're essentially an international pariah. Well, the Chinese government is not.
The United States of America is the international pariah in the eyes of their closest allies in the European Union and, of course, in the eyes of the rest of the world. This is not up to debate. Chinese are sitting down and discussing with their Iranian counterparts how they can play this game to do maximum damage to the unhinged imperialist mad dogs of Washington. That is the only thing being discussed. They are unironically talking about what way to talk to the orange circumcised King President Donald Trump when he goes to visit China next week, and what way to manipulate him into extracting maximum results from this particular situation that the Americans have thrown themselves in. So that's what they're discussing. Because the way this is pitching it is, the Chinese really want to be in good favor with the Americans so they can give them something when they meet next week. Fuck that.
I'm not going to say that Iran is the bad guy because they think that the US and Israel are also the bad guys. After all, they started the war.
Exactly.
The official line from the Chinese government is that everyone needs to sit down and start talking. And naturally, the Chinese government wants that.
That's the official. The unofficial is noted to an extent. Not really.
Straight to open.
They don't really give a shit. They love this.
As well as other countries, because even though this is a very strong economy, that war is also hurting China.
Yeah, I mean, China's role in all of this is very interesting in that China is seen as a friend to Iran, an ally of Iran, and yet at the same time it's got huge economic and investment ties in the Gulf, and a lot of his energy.
Yeah, and they can live for a long time with losing money on the Gulf, okay?
Flows through the Strait of Hormuz, which is, to all intents and purposes, shut at the moment. So China is trying to mediate here in a very diplomatic way and gain points on the international stage for doing so.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And what's more, we're hearing that the Chinese government has been telling these Chinese companies which are buying Iranian oil to keep doing it, even though they're facing sanctions from the US. Now, that could also be so that when Donald Trump and
they are not telling them to keep doing anything. They're simply not telling them to stop buying the oil only because the Americans are sanctioning Iranian oil. The phrasing, always. I love the phrasing. It's as if like the Chinese are proactively being like, please ignore the American blockade. You don't need to tell Chinese companies to do that. They don't give a shit about American blockades. The fuck? Shoot me, bitch.
Xi Jinping sit down at the end of next week and have these talks, there's leverage on that front. So both sides have got something to give, if you like. For the moment, though, China is still buying this oil from Iran, and Beijing would argue, well, why shouldn't we? We didn't start the war. We're not a party to the war. Why should we stop buying Iranian oil just because the US and Israel are involved in a conflict with that state?
Okay, Stephen.
Also, China is the most insulated one from the economic crisis. Absolutely. They could just let this crisis get prolonged to hurt their mortal enemy like Japan, which its economy is heading to collapse right now. Yeah. I mean, nobody's hurting as much as American allies from this entire war. American allies in the Gulf eating dick. American allies in Europe eating dick. American allies in Asia eating horse dick. Everybody. But, maybe next time you'll think twice before collaborating with somebody that has very openly shown that they do not include their alliances in their equations when deciding to go to war or not to go to war. Thank you, Barry, for the great links.
Some of the questions that Joaquin Castro is posing on this issue, maybe this might answer some of your questions. What nuclear weapons capability does Israel have? Has the administration received any assurances from Israel that nuclear weapons will not be used? Has Israel communicated to the United States any nuclear doctrine, any red lines or thresholds for nuclear use in the context of the current conflict with Iran? Has the administration assessed what circumstances could lead Israel to consider nuclear use? What contingency planning has the administration conducted for such a scenario? I mean, we do. Look.
Is there any? I'm asking.
What, bitch? Come on, bitch boy.
An honest question. Why? I mean, has there been some rumor that says that Israel is going to nuke Iran?
Here's the thing. I guess the question is again, now there's been a change of status quo. Mm-hmm. There's a war between the United States, Israel, and Iran that is going on right now in the Middle East.
Yeah, there is a rumor. It's because they're in an active, what she said, in an active war, yes. And they have shown that they are ready to do immense humanitarian damage to the extent of genocide in order to protect their particular project. So yes, this is a very adequate question. Exceptionally relevant. Israel. Use. Discriminate force. Okay?
And under those circumstances, that is actually different from what we've been experiencing for the last, 40, 50 years. And so under those circumstances, there's only one power in the Middle East that has a nuke, and it's Israel. And so the question is, what are the circumstances? What are the boundaries? Are there any boundaries? They don't acknowledge that they have them. People know that they do, but are there any boundaries? And I think that seems like a fair question to ask.
I'm assuming that they're in executive session.
Bro, someone tell Van Jones' mom to tell him to take a break from the TV appearances. I mean, he tried to start a YouTube channel. That didn't go very well. Got 300 views.
For now, thank you very much indeed. Well, let's now pick the brains of the director of the Iranian studies at Stanford University, Abbas Milani. Abbas, I know you were listening in to all of that. So what do you think Wang Yi's messages for Abbas Araghchi today?
First of all, I think one message is that Iran must open the Strait of Hormuz. China has been very clear. They have repeated it several times that this is an international waterway and it should be opened. I think he might be reading the Riot Act. I'm not sure. But China is very clear on that. But China also has a lot of interest in United Arab Emirates that has been attacked by Iran repeatedly. There are 150,000, I think, about Chinese citizens who live in United Arab Emirates. I would be very surprised if the Chinese government doesn't tell Iran that they should cool their heels and stop attacking United Arab Emirates, which is a non-combatant in all of this.
But don't you think China...
Yes, China will definitely, the propaganda is incredible. China will definitely tell Iran, their long-term ally, to stop utilizing the one countermeasure they have against American invasion. Exactly what the Chinese are going to tell them. That's definitely what's happening, bro. Trust me, bro. That's happening, bro. That's the thing that is happening, bro.
One more piece.
But speaking of, okay, I was going to make a circumcision joke, but here it would kind of be anti-Semitic, so I'm not gonna. Let's check out Ben Shabibi.
Here that they wanted to get in because I do think it ties into the way that Americans have shifted.
Apparently, the Daily Wire is doing really badly, which we all feel very bad about, right, chat? Exceptionally sad.
Because they've seen these lies, they've seen through the lies, they've seen the horrors on their own timelines and developed their own opinions about what our relationship with Israel should be and how we should conduct ourselves in the Middle East. So the media outlets, Daily Wire, with their most prominent personality being Ben Shapiro, has really suffered in terms of viewership in the recent years, really post October 7th, as the public and as conservatives in particular, young conservatives in particular, have shifted away from this view of we should have lockstep support for Israel. And so they just conducted significant layoffs. We don't know exactly how many. Candace is out claiming like 60%. I have not seen any solid concrete numbers.
There were layoffs for sure.
There were significant layoffs, and the number that's been floating around is actually 50%. But none of this has been confirmed. They haven't confirmed it either.
God.
But there's a lot.
The market has moved past you, Benny boy. Jesus Christ. Who could have seen this coming? Who could have seen a Jew advocating for white supremacy eventually coming to bite him in the ass? Nobody saw this coming, right, chat? Absolutely nobody. An outgroup agitating for the dominance of the majority will eventually be ousted, no matter how patriotic they were and supportive of said majority. Because once other enemies have been cleansed, they must come for you too. And it's extra funny because Ben Shapiro's kind of low-key. Never give a flying fuck about anti-Semitism. Started giving a fuck about anti-Zionism. But his buddies did not give a shit about the distinction and threw him under the bus.
Be said about this. Number one, first and foremost, like I said, I think the ideological positioning has been a big problem for them. Mm-hmm. And if you look at the views for Ben's show in particular, it has just really fallen off a cliff as people are, increasingly, even in the conservative movement, are increasingly having a different view. And then the other piece is just like a sort of like business piece, which is that they built out this huge organization. They wanted to do children's stuff. They wanted to do movies. They did all of that stuff. And, in the non-corporate media, although they have corporate backing.
I have to take an L there because I genuinely thought there was a chance for them to build up a media empire, basically, because at some point they were making over $100 million in profit a year. That was the last time it was reported. Probably they went into 400 plus million a year. Certain, in 2022, 2023. But since then, the decline, and since specifically October 7th, Hamas killed Ben Shapiro's career, basically.
And they have big billionaire backing, whatever. Anyway, it's just very difficult when you have a personality-driven company to build out all of that overhead and make it a sustainable project. So I think you have a confluence of those two things coming to a head.
People point to the Ben Shapiro YouTube. Look, I mean, it's a tough business. We've all been in it. I'll say it's not been that tough for us recently, but in general, I don't like to nickel and dime like, oh, he's got 20,000 less subscribers or whatever. He's got 7 million subscribers. Okay, so that's not like the biggest indication to me. The biggest indication is a sustained drop over the last 3-year period and the fact this company has to do layoffs. Now, why do they have to do layoffs? Because they're overcapitalized or because they were They took in a ton of money. They had this big, ambitious agenda, and it didn't work, period, right? It just did not work. And that's very clear, especially as the conservative coalition begins to fracture. And you can especially see it. I mean, Ryan got applause recently at some event with Emily, where he said that they should sanction Israel. This is a young conservative event. He got applause, okay? So that's the reality of what we're living in now. So that's just not really going to cut it. I also think as Trump reaches all-time low unpopularity, or all-time low popularity in the U.S., that the appetite for just like the most, like, you know, Trump can do no wrong, like, oh, but what about the, it's like, bro, gas is $4.50 a gallon. I don't need to be hearing about some high school in I don't know, in Boston, right? Like, you know, it's like, that feels very trite to me right now.
The woke college kids aren't selling the way they used to.
I'm telling you this as a person who also hates that, but I'm also self-aware enough to say nobody gives a shit about CRT like curricula in a local Boston school district while gas is $4.54 a gallon. It's just the truth, right? Like, you know, what is a woman and all that ain't hitting today, in my opinion. It was a very different and specific period of time, and that's fine. But my point is just like that era of politics and content is just not going to sell in this immediate term.
There you go. Very basic boy analysis coming to us from the most basic fucking analyst in the business based on YouTube. Dropping slight shade, but I really do. He's like, oh my God, the market has readjusted to other opinions. But give me something more, bro. What is the main problem with right-wingers and reactionaries like Ben Shapiro? And what is the big gap that exists between him and somebody like Candace Owens, for example? Somebody like Tucker Carlson. Somebody like Nick motherfucking Fuentes. Let's use Nick Fuentes. Nick Fuentes is a great example because he's a perfect chameleon. That's the difference. Ben Shapiro is not a chameleon. He's an 80% chameleon. What does that mean? He can readjust on 80% of issues. So when a new trend comes in, when a new reactionary trend comes in, he can readjust on 80% of them. He can embrace 80% of the right-wing bigoted talking points. But Group A, Group B, Group C, Group D, Group E, Group F, but not Group G, okay? That's the 15-20% that he does not touch. In his case, that is Israel. That is Israelis. That is Zionism as a concept. So every reactionary media personality that does not have the ability to adjust to every new trend, just statistically, will eventually run into a wall that he cannot or refuses to break. So, what is the future of reactionary media? It is going to be populated almost exclusively by people that unironically don't care about anything, that are willing to demonize and shill against any type of group at the drop of the hat and adjust. Ben Shapiro is a reactionary media personality of the past because the motherfucker, as dumb as he is, as demented as he is, as evil as he is, actually had opinions, had perspective, had held ideological, points that he would not budge on. That limits you in today's space. That makes you what? Come on, business school students. Okay? Help me out here. That makes you into an inelastic product. What is an inelastic product? Let me teach you some business school shit because it does apply. You would be surprised how much it applies. It cannot adjust to shifts in demand. It cannot adjust to shifts in trends because its marketing campaign cannot quickly enough pitch a new variant of the image of the product to the now shifted base of consumers. So by being inelastic, by being so absurdly inelastic, yes, him being a fucking Jew absolutely plays a role. Absolutely. And for Candace Owens, her being black is going to play a role eventually as well. But for Candace Owens, a lot less than for Ben Shapiro because she is elastic as fuck. And I'm not talking about those legs, baby. She's elastic as fuck because she doesn't give a shit. She gives a shit about the shekels, baby. Nothing else. The dollar sign, yo. Okay? The ruble. That nice green. Well, Ben held some opinions, making him inelastic and therefore eventually to be expected someone that is going. Ted Turner is dead. I don't know who that is. Former synagogue. It's now a mosque. Weird to admit that.
Counterterrorism police are investigating.
That's crazy. No way.
Investigating arson at a former synagogue. It's a site in...
No way! Are you serious? Thank you, Brandon, for the prime. Let's go, guys. Let's make number go up. We are only 22 subs away from Gamba. Let's go, baby. We are targeting 11 Western taxpayers today. That means 4 more Western taxpayers. That means 22 more subs. That means spinning the wheel of fortune. That means oil flowing through this Hormuzzi. For we run no ads. For we run no sponsors. For we are patriots. Off the stream. They say former synagogue like 8 times. It's not once as a mosque. That's
Nelson Street, Tower Hamlets. Police were called at 5:16 on Tuesday, the 5th of May, this morning, by the London Fire Brigade to report of a fire at the site of the former synagogue. Officers were quickly on scene. Minor damage caused to a set of gates and to a lock at the front of the building. No reports of any persons injured. And initial inquiries looking at closed-circuit television indicate the fire was, quote, started intentionally at approximately 5:10, the incident being treated as arson. Counter-terrorism policing London are investigating, given the fact of the site being a former synagogue and the nature of the incident, the Metropolitan Police go on to say. And then finally, Commander Helen Flanagan, head of Counter-terrorism policing London, which is leading the investigation, says this incident follows on from a number of arsons and attempted arsons targeting Jewish Londoners in the...
That's fucking incredible. There's no way that's real. Zionists are even stealing hate crimes. Ted Turner, the billionaire who founded CNN, is dead. Holy scheisse, man. Scheisse meisse. The main CNN guy is dead. Does this mean that the Fox News is now the victor? The billionaire media entrepreneur and philanthropist who launched the 24-hour cable TV news revolution when he founded CNN in 1980 has died. He was 87. Is he the first guy that ran the 24-hour thing? That's impressive. Oh, well. Good night, Ted. Thank you, Nazism, for the 16-month streak. Let's go, chat. Oil time, oil time, oil time, oil time. There were also an incident of 2 Jews and a Muslim getting stabbed in the UK, but the media omitted the Muslim part to make it look like a targeted strike towards Jews. Dude, just it's like anti-Semites eating good, man. Anti-Semites eating so fucking good, eating so good.
Charged with the attempted murder over the stabbings that took place in Golders Green, North London. 2 Jewish men there has been remanded in custody after appearing at Westminster Magistrates Court. We'll bring you more on that with our correspondent who has been camped outside Westminster Magistrates Court this morning. So we'll get more with her shortly. Who's been a charge...
Rupert Murdoch moment.
And their appetite, just generally from what I've been able to see, I mean, they have some good reporters and others who really do care about the news, but for a lot, their main driver is going to be that type of stuff. And that's just not, it's not going to click right now. especially with Ben, and especially with a lot of the way that they have to try and approach.
Yeah, and then there's going to be a new thing, and there's going to be a new thing after, and then there's going to be a new thing after, there's going to be a new thing after. That's the difference between people like this that just fucking random fucking talk. And people that have the ability to do actual systemic analysis. It's annoying. It's lazy. It's stupid.
The Trump.
Sorry, I'm being passive aggressive. It's just fucking guy every time.
Administration, because for them they want
And I
influence.
fucking love breaking points. So get me wrong. And I know they need to do like the whole neutrality thing by having him on. Goddamn this guy every fucking time.
Too, and you can't be openly critical. So they're in the same spot as the Blue Anon guys were when Biden was at his nadir. Remember, like Harry Sisson. Sorry, Harry. I know you had it on the show, and we appreciated you coming on. But my point is, like, those diehard Biden guys, they look like idiots. Like and when Biden, especially around the debate and that time period, we're like, bro, what are you doing? Like they had their audience, like a lot of even their own like blue. Democrat audience was like, hey guys, like you're really defending Biden a lot here. Like, I'm sorry, like I just don't agree. So it's a tale as old as time.
Yeah.
I think in political coverage.
He also lost a couple of his biggest, most prominent personalities.
Yeah.
Candace obviously left in very, contentious circumstances. You had Brett Cooper, who also, went independent, and
Looks
now
like they fired her. Too.
I haven't followed that closely, but it seems like she's tried to reposition herself somewhat and have, more of an independent approach in terms of her views on Israel. And she's got this very young audience. She herself is very young, so she would have more finger on the pulse there, et cetera. So
They were unironically doing the nice thing. National Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Donald J. Trump. Nice. Nice. And it's AI generated. Maybe it's not. No. I think it is. I think it is. It's not AI. Trump did that freehand. I apologize. I apologize.
that also
But Cheeto Haynes really know how to hold a goddamn.
shows the limits of what you could do, because there's no reason, putting aside whatever personal or ideological conflicts, once you're as big as Candace Owens, there's just no reason to stay. Why would you not do your own thing and make your own money and set your own terms and not have to deal with a boss? Why would you not do that? But to your point, Sagar, about how the woke college kids or the CRT curricula isn't selling the way it used to, that's actually a point Tucker made in his interview with the New York Times. I don't know if you listened to the whole interview, but he said, listen, I think the only thing people are going to really focus on is economics, because it's getting that dire. Whether it's AI, obviously with the Iran war, affordability crisis, that is where the energy is going to be. And if you aren't focused on that, then people are not going to be interested in what you have to say. And I think he's probably right about that.
It's just so obvious. I don't think it takes a genius really to figure it out. I mean, at the end of the day, the cultural stuff is what gets your base animated, and then you get the swing voters and others to come on your side when you convince them that things are going to be better for you, right? I mean, is the culture
cultural
can be
issues? This sounds too dismissive, and I'm not saying they're not important, but it's almost like a luxury to get to focus on those sorts of debates, because if you're just
Okay, now they're getting a little bit more interesting. This is what I've been talking about. The new right will include actual conversations about the economy and potentially actual reforms, sometimes maybe even reforms that can be defined as progressive, but under the guise of reactionary social policies, because you can't just run purely on emotion when prices are very high, when the price of treats is making them completely unaffordable, because the level of radicalism is higher, because it's too obvious and too in your face about how badly things are going for the country. So a new type of right-winger who still keeps the base demotivated to pursue class-conscious solutions will proactively adapt to that new reality.
trying to make it
And that's the Tucker Carlson pitch, basically.
through month to month.
A class-conscious reactionary pitch that does address this.
And like survive and keep the lights on. of course that's going to be your number one concern first and
Totally,
foremost.
yeah. That's why the culture war, the most culture wars that we had in my lifetime was in the 90s, because shit was fine. Like, everything was mostly fine. Now, a lot of people will get mad, but that's the truth, okay? Like, most of the time, why do you think Lewinsky was such a big scandal? Okay, when the Dow and the S&P are up so high and we're living in the unipolar moment, that's only in this very unique moment in time could anybody even pretend to give a shit, with about Ken Starr and Lewinsky and the wall-to-wall coverage. When things are really dire, yeah, nobody wants to hear it. Like, whenever we're talking about, some of these 2022 controversies. I mean, imagine even trying to seriously...
Yeah, no, he's completely right. He's not underpinning it by systemic analysis, but he's right. You can only do the culture war thing exclusively during times of relative economic stability as the reactionary pitch. When shit is really, really bad, you gotta keep doing the culture war shit, because you can't let them start thinking about capitalism being problematic, because then who's gonna pay for your campaigns? But, you also have to address the very real economic problems through reforms. I have given this prediction like a while ago. If Tucker Carlson runs, you will talk about healthcare being good. You will talk about the necessity to fix the education system, and not only through the perspectives of DEI. You will talk about the necessity to fix infrastructure. You will talk about the necessity to maybe even increase taxes somewhat. But he will also talk about the problems with minorities, with disabled people, with immigrants, with China, with the necessity of a holy war, but only after we have reestablished our domestic economy. Etc., etc., etc. Speaking of the economy, there is a god. They call him the god of negativity, but he is actually super based. Thank you very much for the 10K. We get a W in chat for the god of negativity. Thank you for paying your Western taxes, you beautiful motherfucker. Thank you for inspiring other people that call themselves positive, yet are not paying the goddamn taxes. Also, today I got to call out developing world chatters. Where the fuck you at, bro? Only one developing world chatter has paid their taxes. We only got Western white boys in here, coming in, dropping those subs. The 5 subs for developing world. Where you at? Where you at, Eastern Europe? Where you at, Asia? Where you at, Africa? Where the fuck you at, South America? I'm waiting. Where are my taxes at? This is an equal opportunity, but reverse apartheid system. And I keep praising you guys, but you ain't showing up. That's the bit. It's a bit. I'm not serious. Goosted be like, you weren't showing up. Thank you for the 20. But wait, wait. Do you live in the West, Goosted? Are you dropping this like fuck those developing world savages or some shit? You're like, eat my dick, fucking impoverished fucking Slav boy. Yup, Canadian taxpayer. Oh my God, provocation, bro. Holy fucking shit. These nuts proud. Thank you for paying forward and dropping the 2. Guys, developing world chatters. Thank you very much, Goosted. And these nuts. But Goosted just talk about a provocation. Okay? Looked every developing world chatter in the eye and said, what's up? Where your taxes at? Little savage. I think what you're saying is accurate, but I don't think that's what Sagar is saying. I think he includes standing up for marginalized people's rights as part of the culture war. You think so? That would be extra fucked up. That would be crazy fucked up. I mean, to the right, fighting against marginalized people is part of the core message, which still can be defined as quote-unquote culture war or whatever. But for us on the left, it is not culture war. It is quite literally the opposite. For us, there's nothing like culture. Like I'm talking from a right-wing POV. For the left, the culture war is not really a you know, not really a dialectical concept because everything flows through everything else. Veggie Burton, first world income coming through here. Oh my God, they are provoking the living shit out of you. So hard to even start at a hype train. Okay. I don't got no Eastern Slavs here that are feeling intimidated. I don't got no North Africans, no West Asians, no Central Asians, really. No Polish motherfuckers, no Belarusians, no Serbs or Croats, or God forbid Albanians. Very interesting, very interesting. Anyways, the choo-choo train is on. Where the Kazakhs at?
Talk about that right now. We barely have time for like vitally important stories because we're in the middle of a global realignment war happening in not only in the Middle East, which is spiking gas to existential levels for American households. That's all anybody is going to want.
Imagine covering like the racial makeup of the Little Mermaid remake at this point. You'd be like,
that's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah, I mean, you can see in our own coverage. It's
and I'm telling you, as a person,
war and economics.
But this is when it comes to media personalities and their inability to adjust to a new playing field. When it comes to governments realigning to a new playing field, it's even more. It's far more interesting. Far more interesting. Thank you, Clone Sister, for the 11 months. Thank you very much.
This is a person who, like, I'm not saying I don't care about this stuff, but again, I care a lot more about the price of gas and about the ability of my fellow citizens to like not die from starvation or something like that than I do about those things. Those are just fights for another day, I think, at the current moment. But if that's all you've got in your quiver, it ain't going to be good for you going forward. And by the way, there's 3 more years of this shit. So let's see, let's see how much let's see how that works out for said crew. All right. Speaking of important stories, which we haven't been able to cover as much as we'd like to, let's go to Epstein. Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get.
Shut the fuck up. What do they mean about when it comes to governance? What I mean about when it comes to governance, like this is going to be the difference between like a left-leaning Sotsdem or whatever the fuck running in the next election. This is what's going to contrast them to a conservative reformist, basically on paper Sotsdem. Because that particular pitch, the Carlsonian pitch, will still include foreign wars. Just foreign wars plus economic stabilization. Understand what I'm saying? So he will still make you go and shoot. In his case, he wants to go and shoot Asians, not that much brown people. The only brown people he wants to shoot are the ones living in the States. They're still going to pitch you the wars, but they will give you extra treats. He understands the very, very simple notion of not overdoing it. That's it. That's it. That's it. They shouldn't live in like complete chaos. Oh my God, I got crazy delay here. Dude Control, what's up with the 5? The developing world wakes up. This is the position. And Pizza Famine comes in with a fucking tenor. The West hits back. Let's fucking go. Thank you very much, Pizza Famine. Thank you very much, Dude Control. And are we in Gamba mode? I believe we are officially entering the land of Gamba. Let's fucking go, baby. Gamba. Please, anybody that would like to spin the Wheel of Fortune, tell our dear, dear friend Cuphead. She will record your bet, and we will do it in a little bit. Let's now check out this GDF video.
Hey, everyone.
So GDF videos are kind of just like reading articles. I mean, they kind of are. So I don't know. I don't think they make. Let's watch it. Let's see how it goes.
I'm a one man.
I like them. Don't get me wrong. I talked about it many times. Just how of an important role they can fill. I just not sure how good they are for a stream.
An operation, and I need all the support I can get. I want to thank everyone who has become a patron. Your support means the world and is essential for me to be able to produce more videos. There's exclusive content on my Patreon as well that I can't show on YouTube. Love you all. Take care. The Prime Minister of Israel can claim a significant victory when it comes to selling Donald Trump on the Iran war. As I've said elsewhere, Netanyahu's government conceived of the plan to kill Iran's supreme leader in November 2025, which they initially planned to do alone. Trump, for his part, had declined a similar operation the year before. Pro-Israel Americans quickly claimed that
I believe the people who can gamba, you keep asking me, is Pizza Famine with a 10, Dude Control with a 5, and Goo, 10, 15, that's only, and Goosted with a 20, motherfucker, and Goosted with a 20. So, Pizza Famine with a 10, Dude Control with a 5, and Goosed with a 20. As long as you guys subs are $5 plus, you can gamba. Tell Cuphead if you want a gamba, or if you do not want a gamba. If you want a gamba, tell them what you want to put your shit on. Cuphead will record it and give it to me.
suggesting Netanyahu authored the war and persuaded Trump to join him is to engage in anti-Semitism.
And the blame, as it so often does, was placed at the feet of who else? The Jews.
The columnist Michelle Goldberg wrote in New
York. I mean, I don't know what fucking Netanyahu calls himself. Jesus fucking Christ.
New York Times opinion that this heavy-handed approach is doomed to fail because it asks people to overlook basic facts. There have been numerous reports about Netanyahu's many meetings with Trump and even a White House Situation Room briefing led by the Prime Minister. Indeed, according to a New York Times report on the briefing, Trump sided with Netanyahu against the advice of some of his most important advisors, including hawkish ones. What's worse, the president was told that Netanyahu's predictions about a swift and decisive victory were farcical by the CIA director. His vice president warned against launching another unpredictable Middle East war. Trump notably evolved his foreign policy, who apparently sought out the 21st.
Yeah, it's just articles. Respectfully, Hype Train. Congratulations to level 8. Thank you very much for trying. Cuphead, what are our bets? What are our bets, Cuphead? Please tell me. And let's spin the wheel. Oh, fortune, baby! Welcome in. For those of you who are new here, we are the only place on Twitch where you can gamba without breaking TOS. You can gamba without hurting your soul, for it is ethical. And where you can defeat the worst type of person on the planet, also known as a streamer. You get to double your gifted subs by forcing the streamer to use his own money to buy the same number of subs back into chat if you win. All gift subs of 5 subs or more until the end of the stream can put their money where their mouth is, either red, black, odd, or even, or for a potential 3x on a single number. So let's go with 5 for Dude Control. Black, 29, everything. 29 with a 5 for Dude Control. 29 on for Dude Control. 29 on, on 29, 5 for Dude Control. Pizza Famine, give me that odd. Pizza Famine with a 10 on odd. Pizza Famine with a 10 on odd. Pizza Famine with a 10 on odd. We're going to do Goose Set after that. Let us spin. Let me set the mood. Baby, baby, baby. We haven't been casinoing in a while. I'm so excited. Anybody who wants to join us on the table, ladies, gentlemen, and NBs, is very, very welcome to do so. It is time. We are spinning.
21. Red, odd. You win.
Congratulations to Pizza Famine on that beautiful odd. The VIP strikes again. 29, you missed by 7. 8 again, but still, congratulations. Thank you very much. Here is a 10. Thanks to Pizza Famine. Congratulations. Congratulations. Motherfucker. Okay, now we get into the scary territory. Now we get into the very, very scary territory. Very scary territory with Goosted at a 20. Goosted is putting it all on red like his soul and ideology. Oh my god. Fuck. Headphones are fucking annoying. Okay, 20 on red. 20 on red. Let us spin, 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 spin. Jesus, please don't fucking win.
20. Yeah. Black, even.
No! Fuck yours! I mean, no. Yeah, well played, sir. Oh no. I wish you had won. Like, you know those Reddit, like, I'm doing the Reddit. Okay, chat. Place your bets right now. Let's get back into 4,000 during the stream. Put your money where your mouth is. Punish the streamer. Double your sub. Have some fun. Make your heart go toop 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 toop. And do an edgy thing where you are supporting a leftist cause by doing a degenerate activity. The rest of the stream, 5+, and you get to spin, baby, spin. Cynical Chris, let's go. Polish players are in the house now. Polish players in the house. Straight from the beautiful, beautiful city, Lithuanian city of Poland. All on red for Cynical Chris, of course. It's in the flag. It's in the beautiful Polish flag, okay? Beautiful Indonesian flag. You guys have beef with an Indonesia for stealing your flag, or did you guys steal their flag? How does that go? How does that go? We got 5 on red, 5 on red, 5 on red for Chris, who is very cynical about his particular potential victory. And
26. Black,
unfortunately,
even.
it's black because you will keep spilling and you guys suck. Yeah. Come at me. Come at me. Come at me. Try and punish me, motherfucker. Drop a 50 and then make me spin. I dare you, because I'm going to win. As it's skill, okay? Roulette is skill. It is skill. What kind of a skill do you need to tell the casino to spin some stupid fucking wheel? Let me tell you. That I'm not going to tell you, because then you would use it against me. Okay, God of negativity. We flexing, bro? We flexing, bro? We flexing? Huh? You think you can play with me, God of negativity? You think you can do this, huh? 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 Has to be red sometime. All in. 10 on red for God of negativity. Let's see how negative God of negativity is. 10 on red, 10 on red. Welcome to the YouGov Casino VIP God of Negativity. He's putting 10 on red, and we are spinning, 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 spinning. But now we're going to play some different music in the background. No. There we go. Oh, yeah. Now we got the VIPs in. Let's go, let's go, let's go. 10 on red. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Wait. 1 second, 1 second.
You saw me standing alone, without a dream in my heart, without a love of my own. Blue moon, you knew just what I was there for. You heard me saying a prayer for someone I really could care for. And then there suddenly appeared before me the only
God of negativity.
my arms
Mr. God of negativity is
I heard
putting everything
somebody
in red,
whisper,
son.
please adore me.
It's been son.
And when I looked, the moon had turned to gold.
20. Black Evil.
Unfortunately, sir, you have not won.
Now
But
I'm no
you're very
longer
welcome
alone.
to try again, sir.
Without a dream in my heart,
Please, place your bets.
without a love of my own.
The best thing about streaming is you get to be a kid. You know? It's fun. Now I'm adding a thing to the Gamba bit. I'm always going to put on a jacket or some shit. Be a proper croupier or whatever they call it. What do you call the guy that like shuffles decks and plays the blackjack for you, or shuffles and plays the poker, or like puts like the ball to spin and shit? We call him croupier or some shit. Dealer? Dealer. We call something else dealer over here, if you know what I mean, brother. Yeah. Croupier. Okay. Croupier. So it's croupier there as well. Okay. Lovely. Thank you very much for playing God of Negativity. Better luck next time, baby. Better luck next time. Now let's check out the You Freda video, because we love Freda. Shout out to Freda, please, in chat. Freda also streams.
Conservative
Freda has tortured himself. Unironically, massively, and painfully tortured his beautiful little body for a month plus to make this video. So he deserves all the respect for us to check it out. Please also go and subscribe to Freda if you already haven't. Can we watch the new Best D Marks video later? Absolutely.
In Earth,
why the left keeps failing. That's a big claim. That's a big take to have. Pinpointing a why. There's many whys. Yeah, we'll check it out. We'll definitely check it out.
conservative podcaster Matt Walsh has released a so-called history documentary called, and I quote, Real History, which, in his own words, is meant to reveal the so-called lies told by the, quote, mainstream historians and academia. This is not the first time we've seen content creators adopt this angle when trying to pitch their idea of history, which runs counter.
By the way, unironically, today we gotta gamble a little bit because I want to lose, okay? Like, casino derps like me, like, enjoy losing, okay? So we gotta make me lose, okay?
To the sort of consensus on the topic that exists in academia. Oftentimes, they engage in conspiratorial thinking, claiming academia has been infiltrated by and is being run by the left to advance a Marxist agenda or something of that sort. It's a common tactic used to present yourself as the sole arbiter of truth. What you're seeing at the top of the screen is a citation. Historians work with, analyze, and interpret sources. Everything we write or say in a professional capacity has to be anchored in a source. They're our connection to the past. They're also how we stay honest. We can't just lie about what may or may have happened in the past. We have to point to some sort of evidence. Hence, the citation above. When we do so,
I know it's been said like 1,000 times, but self-report that right-wingers do, and they're like, oh, places where people develop themselves intellectually and academically tend to be more left-wing, while impoverished rural areas tend to be more right-wing. I wonder whether there are correlations between higher levels of education and understanding the core inequities of society. No, it's actually because there is a cabal of Jews, Bolshevik Jews, that love running around universities telling your kids that Marx actually had a beautiful large cock.
So we also cite in such a way that you can actually find it as easily as possible, so as to not obfuscate our evidence. In this video, I'll be dismantling Matt Walsh's so-called real history bit by bit. I'll investigate every single source, and in some instances, investigate the source's sources. I'll try to present a thorough and comprehensive review of Matt.
By the way, Freda is a massive, source masturbator. He's like I love him so much. He's one of the smartest men I've ever met. He loves sourcing stuff, and he loves writing the bibliography and checking people's sources. Fucking legendary.
Walsh
He's like, guys, please, on the podcast, like, if you have any source, please send it to me, and I will very gladly spend 17 hours properly doing the bibliography for it. Please, please. By the way, Lady Zafira has 5, and who was number 2? And the Christ Liquor Anarchist has a 20 of free spins.
Aptitude as a historian, at great personal cost to my own sanity. This isn't a fact-check type video where I see what facts Matt Walsh got right or wrong. The goal of the video was to investigate whether this is history to begin with. To give a math analogy, imagine someone is tasked with adding 2 plus 2. They might say 5, and you might go, well, that's not quite right. Now imagine you ask them to show their work, and they seem to have arrived at 5 by doing 10 divided by 20, which is neither the correct answer of 4, nor is it even addition to begin with. And it also doesn't result in an answer of 5. That's how my investigation of Matt Walsh's work here made me feel. Let me quote the eminent historian E.H. Carr's analogy. Quote, to praise a historian for his accuracy is like praising an architect for using well-seasoned timber or properly mixed concrete in his building. It is a necessary condition of his work, but not his essential function. In this analogy, a house built by Matt Walsh cannot stand. Let's go to his very first source.
One professor from the University of Wisconsin spent 11 years administering historical literacy tests to his students. He discovered that they overwhelmingly believed that slavery began in the U.S., was almost exclusively an American phenomenon.
Let me present the facts that are left out here. The College Fix is a conservative news site. The article says that the professor calls these cultural literacy tests, not historical literacy tests. The professor is not a professor of history, and he's not teaching history students. He's an English professor by the name of Professor Duke Pesta, whose PhD was in Shakespeare and Renaissance literature. He runs a private online school called Freedom Project Academy. Here's their website with what appears to be AI-generated headshots of their staff. He's also literally worked for the College Fix and
No way. No way. No way. No way.
Overwhelmingly believed that slavery began in the U.S., was almost exclusively an American phenomenon.
Let me present the facts that are left out here. The College Fix is a conservative news site. The article says that the professor calls these cultural literacy tests, not history.
Yes, but even if this was true, I would dismiss it just on Americans being stupid, even if they're educated, with all due respect. Not stupid, like being brainwashed by just exceptionalism. So even in their evil, the Americans have to be exceptional. You know? Like the rest of the world doesn't exist. If like burgers and slavery and racismus, we did it all, you know? It always goes in both directions. You either talk to a neocon that's like, we never did, brother, we never did any of those bad things. And then you talk to a lib who's like, we are literal demons. There is something in the American water. We literally did all the bad stuff. No bad stuff exists outside of the United States. Which, by the way, is like Orientalist as fuck, right? Orientalist as fuck. Like thinking that like even liberal, even liberal like quasi-revolution is immediately the CIA. It's the CIA. This implies like people outside of the states that do not have free will whatsoever. It's only men of free will that work for the CIA that can change this or that thing. Obviously, don't go into the yeah brother chud perspective where like it's always freedom fighters, brother. They just fucking love that banana company. That's why they killed their president and installed a military dictatorship, brother. Yeah. Right? Like those are the two. Like there is a middle ground between those two that is where the truth very, very often lies. Usually there's a complex bouquet of contradictions that have led to a particular revolt or a particular protest or a particular, you know? The slavery and the racism, we did the whole thing.
Historical literacy tests. The professor is not a professor of history, and he's not teaching history students. He's an English professor by the name of Professor Duke Pesta, whose PhD was in Shakespeare and Renaissance literature. He runs a private online school called Freedom Project Academy.
Things go wrong, it's a color revolution. If things go right, it was just a revolution. And on top of that, if you don't like maybe Some people in some countries that do quote unquote revolutions domestically do reactionary revolutions, which you cannot call reactionary coups revolutions, but still, they can have baseline popularity. And us as Marxists, we should fucking hate it because that's what the enemy is. And simply in a black and white manner, we should be like, fuck this particular coup because it introduced a right-wing government. What a lot of Americans, due to said exceptionalism, do, though, is like, fuck it because probably the Americans did it. And the crazy thing is, yeah, probably 70% of the cases, it was, some American embassy doing a thing or two to facilitate said movement. But if you believe that it's the CIA 100% of the time, kind of taking the ability of certain nations and certain peoples to make bad decisions for themselves away from them, which implies that nobody does anything unless the Americans are involved. Best is what we call the embodiment of the Black Death in Norway, by the way. We got the maker of the video, my dear colleague. My dear hung, beautiful, tall, and chiseled colleague, Freda. What is up? Shout out to Freda. I shared the link. The link is also pinned. Thank you to Chris, our beautiful new Polish police officer. I was very scared. Having a Polish cop in here, very, very problematic. We just started it, Freda. So if you want to watch it with us, as I steal 400 viewers away from you, you're very welcome to stay. I love you, brother. How you doing? Are we going to record this week? I feel like we're not going to record this week. Everything is all over the place.
Here's their
not anybody's fault. I'm not saying. We just gotta figure out the topic and whether the day can work because of the understandable reasons.
Website.
But yeah, anyways, welcome, you beautiful piece of shit. Hell yeah, I will. Let's go.
With what appears to be AI-generated headshots of their staff. He's also literally worked for the College Fix as the host of its Campus Roundup YouTube show. In the article, the professor actually says, quote, "They are convinced that slavery was an American problem that more or less ended."
I think I'm good for it. I changed the topic because I want to wait for a book to come out. Yeah, my problem, brother, is I don't know if I'll be smart enough or have enough time to research whichever figure we chose for Friday. It's already Wednesday evening, right? And I want to do it properly. I hope you see when I write my text. Yeah, dude, the OG, and you're talking about the OG anti-circumcision guy. That's how he got me, by the way, because I completely agreed with that opinion when it's not for religious reasons. And then, I remember being very young, and then 2 weeks later being like, wait, this guy is saying we should rape women? What the fuck? And I booted out immediately. Can anybody guess which reactionary figure we're talking about? Doing the circumcision funnel. He was doing unironic, like in the beginning. The way he would position himself was I'm talking, this is 15 years ago plus. Not plus, but around 15 years ago. He would unironically position himself as a man's rights activist, but not in the modern context. But questioning certain things that society does to men, especially young boys, that is low-key fucked up, that nobody talks about, right? So it wasn't positioned as anti-woman. It was okay, nobody talks about the rights of boys to choose whether to be circumcised or not. You're watching that and you're like, oh, okay. That's a great point. That's very wise. He's got the dad aura. You're like, okay, let's talk, okay. And then he just starts talking about raping women and murdering women and how they're all whores and stuff. Okay, yeah. But he was one of the OG guys that co-opted a phrase that should be a normal phrase, man's rights activist. That's not, that unfortunately has been co-opted by right-wing degenerates, right? That was not, So you're like, fuck. I'm talking about my first interaction. That was my first interaction with quote unquote a man's right activist. Random YouTube video. I'm like, okay, this is an interesting topic. Yeah, I agree. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like men should have what's the word? Full control over what is done to their bodies. And doing this while they are not conscious of what is happening around them is fucked up. So if they want to do it later, they should be able to. But if they don't want to do it, they should have a choice. And that's how they always get you. You know, I was like, oh, never thought about that, but that's a good point, bro. And then 2 videos in, raping women is actually good. And you're like, oh, fucking shit. Autonomy, thank you. You know, like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like, what? So nobody's guessing it correctly. He was bald. And he owned it. He was bald and he really owned it. I felt the same, and I'm glad I delved into feminist literature because they talk about how the patriarchy also fucks over men. Absolutely. My mom was also always a very cool feminist that taught me that from basically from my teenage years, and that's why I immediately recognized. I was like, "What the fuck?" Yeah, because if you watch or follow or read a very good, let's say, feminist author that focuses more on women's issues, it's not a bad thing. That's just her focus, right? And I wish there were more, because there's a few. There were more like dudes that talk about dudes' issues without immediately turning it into murder all women. Like it's absurd that we're even having this conversation. Like, I don't think that's a high demand, you know? But they are also feminists, you know. Tim Pool. No, we just talked about Tim Pool. Oh, you guys, I can see my chat is young. But though, I can also understand why you would never think of this guy. I'm still guessing Molyneux. Smute, I didn't even see when you wrote Molyneux. Yes, congratulations. Molyneux, yes. Freda is pitching us to record Molyneux on Friday. Write 1 in chat if you know who Stephen Molyneux is. And write 2 if you don't know who that is. And write 3 if you think I'm a filthy boomer together with Freda. Let's see how many young people we got in here. Because that's an OG, bro. That's an OG. So many 2s. Crazy. McGinn, you're a 2? 2 plus 3. 2 plus 3. Okay. There's some 1s. Cuphead, the fuck. Holy shit. 80% of you don't know who Stephen Molyneux is. He got successfully deplatformed and became irrelevant, but he was running shit in the 2010s. He was running shit. I just hope, Freda, I hope, pour yourself a beer, brother. Cheers. I hope, like, Ben Shapiro gets the Stephen Molyneux thing. I hope that we are lucky enough and I stream in 10 years and I ask chat, write 1 in chat if you remember Ben Shapiro, and like 80% of chat writes 2. They just don't. Who? What? Ben Shapiro? The fuck? Elon Musk personally unbanned him from Twitter, which is by the way, crazy lore drop. I can't wait till we do the Elon Musk episode because Freda is a Elon Musk expert. Then we're not supposed to do an Elon Musk episode because we're only talking about digital right-wing ideas, theories, and individuals. But Elon Musk can definitely be counted as as massively influenced by it. Elon the Redditoid, you have no idea how Reddit-pilled Elon is. And I've mostly learned about this from Freda because his thesis is very simple. There is no way that somebody so wealthy and running in circles that he runs in, being exceptionally familiar with incredibly niche online right-wing theoreticians. Like the history guy, your arch nemesis, Freda, what was his name? Please help me. Stephen fucking Molyneux. You personally unban Stephen Molyneux. What if alt his? Thank you. Okay? When you realize that Elon Musk is a fan of what if alt his, I know don't judge a book by its cover, but at this point we've seen a lot of covers of Elon Musk. You know everything about that guy. You know everything about that. You know everything about that guy. You immediately know everything about that guy. And then combine it with Stephen Molyneux. Fucking crazy. A very good thesis by Fred. A very decent thesis. Very, very, very decent thesis.
The Civil War, and they are very fuzzy about the history of slavery prior to the colonial era. Their entire education about slavery was confined to America. Additionally, nowhere in said article is the professor quoted as saying, quote, most college students think America invented slavery. Professor Pesta doesn't present any data or numbers in the cited article, says this is the result of 11 years of testing. There is no way for us to verify the data or evaluate his methodology. In other words, if I'm working like a historian would, I would say that this man may as well be making this up. Following this, he's...
Absolutely, and isn't it funny, Fred, that even if he wasn't making it up, the appropriate way to interpret the article should be this particular analyst / professor realized that the way slavery is framed in the United States does not encompass the magnitude that slavery has played throughout history and throughout the world. And maybe we should address American exceptionalism in the classroom, in which we only in which we hyper focus on American history and not world history, right? Like a normal intellectual would take that out of this article, even if we imagine it was true. A normal intellectual would be like, ah, shit, yeah, we got to contextualize for the kids a little bit better and talk about the world more, because otherwise they'll think that everything starts and ends in the United States, right? A normal, stable intellectual, that's what they would take out of this. But no. What these guys take out of this is, herder, the Judeo Bolsheviks are running around telling American kids that only Americans did slavery, and actually everybody else was fine and didn't do slavery. Yeah, and also it's framed too much as an American thing and not a European thing. Racialized slavery in America, of course, began before America existed. Of course, yes.
Sets up the straw man argument he will be confronting.
We've been told that the history of slavery is straightforward and uncontroversial. We've been told that black slaves were mostly captured by whites, that white colonists in the Americas routinely enslaved free black men, and that more black people were enslaved than whites. And we've been told that we're not allowed to question any of that.
He's not actually quoting anyone who's making any of these arguments, he's just saying, quote, we've been told this or that. Told by who, Matt? From this, we can extract Matt Walsh's thesis, the message or point that he wants to prove with this.
By the way, Slavs sometimes do this, and I love fucking with them when they just go on random rants because they've been listening to the Great Hassan episode on the Reaction Pod, ! Reaction Pod, please. ! Reaction. Because they are super Americanized, even their right-wing thought is extremely Americanized. You will hear Slavs be like, man, the fucking, now I'm going to, I don't know why I'm doing a South. No, man, these fucking, black people in the United States, always everything slavery about them. They were not only slaves, blah, blah, blah. Whenever they throw that at me, I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, we were under Ottoman Empire 500 years. Many other peoples, Asia, Europe, everywhere, like many slaves very often. I'm like, yeah. You're arguing with nobody. You're literally arguing with nobody. There is not a single black intellectual that focuses on slavery that says other peoples, nations, peoples of different creeds and so on were not also, in different contexts, of course, enslaved. Is the guy that says slavery of Africans, particularly in the United States, is the only type of slavery that has ever existed. Guy with us in the room right now. And it's surprising because often they're like, oh, actually, when you think about it, but they really talk about it too much. I'm like, you would also talk about it too much if your grandma was a slave. And if you are still very much so living the consequence. Our people liberated ourselves from far less harsher slavery, like almost 150 years ago. We still like to talk about it and use it as an excuse for this and that. Do you think that our ancestors, 70, 80 years after receiving civil rights, did not talk about it all the time because it was definitely a part of their every day? And they're like, yeah, they probably did. I'm like, yeah. So please, like, the fuck? Why are you arguing for the argument of the slave owner as somebody who wants to be like, oh, we was slaves too, right? Why? You're being hypocritical against your ancestors as well. You dumb fucking prick. It's just dumb. It makes absolutely no sense. They're so Americanized. When Hugo does an impersonation of them, he starts talking like an American Southerner. Yeah, it's like, okay, bro, we know. Yeah, it's like nobody's saying this. No, nobody.
Video. His thesis is this: the history of slavery is not straightforward, and it is controversial. Black slaves were not mostly captured by white people. White colonists in the Americas did not routinely enslave free black men. More white people were enslaved than black people. We should be questioning these facts. Once again, I want to point out that he's not presenting a counter-narrative to any specific academic narrative. If he was, he would cite or point to that narrative. He's made up these claims that he's trying to debunk. He's fighting an evil Marxist academic in his own head. Conservatives are really good at this thing where they make up a guy to be angry at. Let's get point number 1 out of the way. The history of slavery is obviously complicated and full of nuance as any actual...
By the way, in true VIP Ugopnik experience, you have which by the way happens more often than not. Always with Freda, because Freda's a fucking legend. But if you have questions, don't pester our VIP too much. But you have the maker of the video in chat. So do feel free to interact. And also do feel free to follow through the link that has been pinned above. And to also follow Fred on Twitch, who streams on Twitch. And listen to a show that I'm running with him, okay?
Academic would tell you. And it's obviously not uncontroversial, as evidenced by the very existence of his video. If it wasn't controversial, there'd be no debate over the statues, reparations, long-term effects, and so on. We would just be addressing these things and moving on with our lives. But we're having this debate because it is controversial. So that's 1 out of the way. Let's move on to 2.
Historians and political pundits spend a lot of time talking about the transatlantic slave trade, the 350-year period in which an estimated 12.5 million slaves were brought to the Americas.
A likely thing.
Yeah, kind of a big deal. Yeah, and especially in the United States, they're probably going to talk about this pretty big fucking deal. Kind of transported 12.5 million people to build you a new country on the bones of natives. But okay, yeah, yes. People will be talking about something as astronomically massive and barbaric as this. Surprised? Nobody. Weird historians keep talking about this history, right? Whoa.
For historians to be talking about.
Well, first we start with a West African country you've likely never heard of, the Kingdom of Dahomey. Now, Dahomey was not a peripheral player in the Atlantic slave trade. It was central to it. The kingdom's wealth, its military power, and its cultural splendor were built entirely on the systematic capture, sale, and export of human beings.
He's highlighting Dahomey because it was an African kingdom that became tremendously wealthy on the capture, sale, and export of human beings. Export is the key word here. The rise of the slave trade, colonialism, early globalization, and capitalism were all interlinked. Slaves were captured to ensure supply in order to meet demand. That demand came from European colonizers. If Europeans had not shown up, there would still be slavery, but the scale would have been far lesser, the nature of it different, and there would have been no export. Africans...
Absolutely, very, very well put. But also on top, it's saying as if historians of specifically the American slave trade don't put blame on the slavers that sold the slaves as well. They do, because they were selling slaves. Does he think that they're like, oh, of course, like Freda's contextualization about scale due to European, basically, industrialization of the slave trade is a massive factor. But also, like, they do talk about the guys that did the selling. No, nobody's like sitting in a room and be like, oh, we gotta hide the fact that there was some people doing the selling because we gotta make this into a white thing. That is why it is so difficult to argue against reactionaries, because you just fucking invent stuff. The imaginary enemy. The video is like reading how Europe underdeveloped Africa, but the book is better. You get what I mean? Like, this is not like...
Slaves weren't capturing just to meet local demand. They were capturing to meet the demand of several world-spanning colonial empires. Dahomey, according to Robin Law in an article on the historiography of Dahomey in the Journal of African History, was founded in 1625, and its militarism was a recent phenomenon. Quote, although the earliest accounts of the area do of course allude to wars, the sources offer a clear enough impression.
And even with this switch of particular material conditions that have inspired the people of Dahomey to enslave others and then sell them to chattel slavery were very real. That does not undermine the very, fucked up, the very fact that they did do fucked up shit, right? The fact that there are material conditions for you to choose to do fucked up shit doesn't mean you should do fucked up shit, right? This is not me doing liberal moralism. This is actually doing materialism, in which we adequately contextualize that there will always be material conditions that motivate you to do fucked up shit. You need to choose not to do fucked up shit as a member of progress and a follower of progress, and not someone who just wants to see the same mistakes of our past generations repeat. And almost every historian, after contextualizing, as Freda beautifully contextualized, will also say, yeah, but fuck these slaver guys. They're just slavers. But putting it into the context of the European slave trade does not make it into a herder propagandist thing we're doing now, where we're making it into a way to hurt feelings of whites. That's not the... It is real context. What is real context? How can you call real contextualization of a particular, unfortunately back then, economic exchange of human beings for money propaganda? No, it's just very real context that needs. What's important to note is that all our sources in the period under the Dahomey are written by literal slavers who are trying to defend the slave trade, which was under attack by abolitionists. That's fair.
That by the 1690s, the scale and frequency of wars on the
we don't have to focus on like the Dahomey or whatever. Any locals, any West African locals that were participating in the slave trade were motivated by the newly established material conditions created by the potential economic benefits they could get by capturing and selling slaves. All of them should also be defined as slaves and pieces of shit, right? Like it's... But only doing that without contextualizing the demand which came from the European slave trade is fucking idiotic, and it makes it look like we're just a bunch of Africans that love enslaving each other and selling us to white man. Fuck, right? It's just...
Slave coast was significantly greater than earlier. Countries on the slave coast seem to have increasingly availed themselves of mercenary soldiers.
Goddamn, I'm lost. What's the argument? The argument that Matt Walsh is making is that Africans just loved selling other Africans into slavery. Freda's argument is that the level of demand only existed because the Europeans created said demand for chattel slavery. The only thing I am going on a rant about is about how there's like he's shadowboxing a non-existent opponent, which apparently loves excusing slavers doing slaver shit. That does not exist. Nobody's excusing slavers doing slaver shit. He's saying this is just what Africa was like, and it was worse to be a slave there and to be sold there than to be sold to Europeans. That's next level crazy shit. Yeah, that's next level crazy shit. That's where he's gonna go probably. That's Nazi shit. Wow. Remember reading about a tribe that worships the color red? The Europeans would exploit that by throwing red clots into their boats so people would just go, the fuck?
A phenomenon that Europeans...
Anyways, reminder, we passed 2 hours, 30 minutes. I forgot. Support the show. We are Gamba live. You can spin the wheel of destiny for 5 subs plus. Let's try. I am being greedy. But what if we hit 4,000 subs today? Just an idea. Just an idea.
Hamburger, hum. Hamburger, hum.
Oh my god! Holy shit, I pointed and it fucking worked. Let's fucking go, baby. Let's fucking go, baby. Yeah! Oh, motherfucker. Praise be to Hamburger Burger. Adrian is online. Always a pleasure for you. I feel like Adrian just comes in, drops a big pile of fucking oil on my ass, and feels good about it. Thank you, brother. Oh, motherfucker. Woo! Let's go, baby. Let's go. Wait, it's empty. Woo! Love the new Pod King. Thank you very much. You see, crazy Oilers like the pod. That means that you should fucking like the pod as well. If these incredibly successful human beings do as well. Thank you, Adrian. That is very kind of you, my friend. Very, 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 very kind of you, my friend. I will count you as 2 Western taxpayers because that's what you are. And you're getting close to Crisco. You got an enemy. You got an enemy in there. Hvala, Đokula. Thank you, Đokula, for the 5. Sada se vratio iz tamo, ti znaš ja odakle sam, tamo iz juga. Doneo i Radžu. Hvala ti puno. Put you on my headset as I head out and buy beer and tortillas. He saw the party and he's gotta. Okay, let's quickly spin. Adrian, are you gonna fuck me up the ass like you always do? Like you sometimes do. Do you want a gamba or are you gonna spare me? Jesus, my heart is about to burst out of my fucking. Adrian, you legend. No fucking up the ass today, King. You know what? Let's do 2x. Let's do 2x on a number. You want to do that? Let's do 2x on a number. Let's make it fun. You can pick 2 numbers. No, 3 numbers. 3 numbers. Pick 3 numbers. And if it hits one of them, I 2x it. Is that fair? I think that's chill. You know, I see you don't want a gamba, but I want to give the adrenaline to chat. You wanna give the adrenaline to chat? For a 50. I want to feel it. 9, 11, 13. Ladies, gentlemen, and NBs, Adrian is online. A smooth talking gentleman enters. Oh, wait.
That this is best understood as a consequence of increased warfare stimulated by the overseas market.
To contextualize this for the white mind, would you think that it would be fair to state that, for example, if some sort of like far wealthier colonial empire from Asia came to Europe, then created economic incentive for Europeans, for whites, to kidnap each other and sell them to you, and then brought them over to another continent to work as slaves, would you find it to be a fair assessment, maybe like 200-300 years later, even more, if they said, if the Asians that kidnapped you and brought you to a new continent to work, if they said, you know what, like the Europeans wanted to come. Europeans, though, even preferred working on our Asian slave ships than living that European life or whatever. Europeans don't really know better, right? And honestly, like, we would not be able to get any Europeans if Europeans weren't selling other Europeans. There's something in the European blood that just, treasonous, and that would very proudly sell another, mayonnaise monkey, a white motherfucker to another, to our, more civilized Asian ways. Would you think that is an adequate assessment? One generalizing economic models incentivizing particular behavior as simply genetic or cultural. Would you think that that's fair? Or would you unironically say, the reason Europeans sold people into slavery is because this Asian empire came and created economic incentive for them to sell people into slavery? Would the same thing happen? Would the same thing not happen if some sort of Asian super civilization during the same period came to Europe and did the same thing the Europeans did in West Africa? Absolutely the same thing would happen. You would see fucking Johns running Timmys and Chandlers right into shackles. It is all about economic incentive, brothers, sisters, and MBs. That's what it is. Not about creed or race or any of that fuck.
For war captives.
It is savage racists like this that try to convince us that that's the case.
Before creating this video, I reacted to it live over on Twitch. I'll sprinkle in some clips for that when it's appropriate. Go ahead and hit follow if you want to see me in a more casual context. Anyways, here's the first clip.
In the 19th century, a Dahomean king named Gezo described the slave trade as the ruling principle of my people. It is the source of their glory and health. Their songs celebrate their victories.
Okay, and if true, evil fucked up person. Okay, so what next? So what how does that undermine European slave trade? Hell, they were part of the European slave trade. So I'm pretty sure Freda's now going to rip this in half and so on. But still, even if he doesn't, let's see. I am trying to play a different game than Freda does in the video, where I'm taking every single thing he says as true. And even if everything he says is true, it doesn't undermine the fucked up evil nature of the European slave trade, which would not have happened without, guess who? Europeans. Why does the light keep increasing? Fuck. I'm dropping so much truth, the light shineth upon me.
The mother lulls the child to sleep with notes of triumph over an enemy reduced to slavery.
So what he's not talking about here is that the fucking people in Dahomey are not the people creating the demand for these slaves.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a source cited. Holy fuck. Matt, you're actually doing better than most history YouTubers. God, was I wrong. This is where everything starts falling apart fast. I looked at the page he referenced and found, to my great surprise, that the quote wasn't there, and that page 147 was in chapter 14, titled Mamluks and Ottomans, not at all related to the topic at hand. So I went to the index in the back of the book to see where the book discusses Gezo, and it occurs on pages 193, 217, and 221. I went to page 193 and, lo and behold, there's the quote. My first theory was that they had cited the page number that their PDF reader might have shown, but the PDF reader page the index points to is page 175. They might have thought to type page 175, but accidentally typed 174, but then messed that up and typed 147, but I have no idea. If there are other editions, I couldn't possibly know which one he cited because he didn't list the year the book was published. I don't really know how this happened, but I might have a theory that I'll come back to later in the video.
Great catch, by the way, Fred. That's fucking funny.
Citation is almost completely useless. I did, of course, find the text in the book after some searching. The context of the quote is that the British, having at this point abolished slavery, offered cash payments in exchange for the locals ending their slave exports. The wider context of that, of course, is that the rise of the Dahomey and the emergence of the culture that this King Gezo speaks of could not have occurred had Europeans, like the British, not integrated them into an almost globe-spanning slave market to begin with. But I should point out that this quote, allegedly said by the King Gezo to quote a British naval officer, is not specific about when this was said, who this officer was, and there's no citation to a contemporary account writing down that this actually happened. It perfectly well could have, but we can't follow the evidence back to where it was originally.
Just to do good cop, bad cop with Freda, which I feel like sometimes we also do on the show. And so what if it happened? A super wealthy monarch, slaver, that made a lot of money from slaving people. What does that prove for Matt's argument? A super wealthy African monarch that sold slaves to European slavers. Sold slaves to European slavers is the point of the fucking story, Matt. That's why they call it the European slave trade. Okay? 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 Because that's the guys that were buying.
Tested because the evidence ends here. Therefore, it's a bad citation. But there are worse ones coming. Next, he starts talking about an all-female military unit referred to by Europeans as the Dahomey Amazons. And he cites a source here, but this time, for some reason, there's no page number, which is strange because he did that on the last citation. So I got the book and found the quote. Turns out he's rewritten the quote for some reason, changing the wording and leaving out a very important sentence that precedes it. Here's Matt Walsh's quote alongside the original quote from the book. Here's the sentence that he left out, which makes it clear that these weren't just soldiers, these were the king's wives. I don't know why Matt Walsh would change the wording from ringing a bell to carrying a bell, as well as other alterations to the sentence, but once again, I have a theory as to how and why it happened, which I'll get to later. He cites an article about a study that proved traces of blood in the mortar of the palace, and a scan of a 1994 UNESCO journal, both available online. Decent enough sources, and he doesn't seem to be doing anything misleading with them. Or so I thought. When I read the study, I thought that their evidence doesn't really back up their sweeping claims about history, but I'm not a scientist, so I didn't feel comfortable making any definitive statements. So I sent the study to my girlfriend, who is a scientist, while she was in the—
Hey, you got to flex to you, motherfuckers. He loves flexing with the fact that his girlfriend is a scientist, which, by the way, is a great fucking flex. That's a pretty great fucking flex. I can't wait, once we properly get to know each other even more, to go run around like I've done with the Deprogram boys, go run around Europe or some shit with Freda and Mike at some point. I'm low-key hoping Freda brings his partner. Sounds fucking brilliant. Actually, Freda, never introduced me to your partner because you're one of the smartest people I've ever met. And that's going to ruin it because then I'm going to be like, it's like... trying to go out looking for a girlfriend with your very hot friend, so your partner is just gonna be an intellectual giant, and no matter how much of an intellectual giant you are, when you're standing, when you're with your bro and he's a 10 and you're a fucking 8, being an 8 is pretty fucking impressive, but your bro's a 10, so everybody's looking at the 10. So yeah, Jokula sounds weird. Of course, everything sounds weird to you because you have no friends. Come to Berlin and drool, Paul. Paul, let me buy you some drinks and parasocial requests. That sounds fucking great, honestly. Sounds fucking great, honestly. I'm getting married in July though, so I gotta keep a chill on the traveling before then. But after that, for sure. I got a bachelor party. It's gonna be disgusting for like 3 nights. Basically, going to be gone almost for a week. So that's 4 days. End of June. End of June. After this stream, I'm gonna go talk to my best man about what the fuck they figured out. That shit's gonna be disgusting. That shit's gonna be disgusting. I think I'll have a fucking hangover for 2 months. Week-long bachelor party. It's gonna be 3 nights. 3 nights. 3 nights. Haven't figured anything out. God bless, man. That's the only shitty thing about not, the internationality of this community. I don't get to hit some of you cunts up sometimes for beers, but it is what it is. 3 nights plus recovery. I'm gonna need fucking recovery. No, the third date is just gonna be at the house they rented. I don't know how it is in your culture, but it's really nice to be on the receiving end of a bachelor party because they don't let you pay for shit. You just go there and you're just having like drinks, food, boats fucking thrown at you. You pay for nothing. I'm looking forward to fucking just being a greedy fucking vampire for three days. But the third night is going to be mostly recovery. Never been to one. Mine will be super low-key. That's absolutely fine, my friend. Absolutely fine. I've been to low-key ones that were lovely. I've been to unhinged ones that were lovely. It's all about neither is better or worse. I'm a centrist on lifestyle. I'm the ultimate centrist on everything lifestyle. Just do a thing that you enjoy. I've had insane birthdays where I've had 25 plus people on them. That was my last birthday. The best birthday I've ever had was with 4 bros and my woman, and we went to a Serbian restaurant. First we went to the cinema. We watched back then it was the newest Alien movie. We bought Pepsis there, but we also bought a bunch of, those 30 milliliter vodkas and whiskeys and rums, and we put it in the half a liter Pepsi. So we got fucked up while we watched Alien. Then we went to a Serbian barbecue restaurant. We drank like crazy there and ate like fucking savages there for like 4 hours. And then we went to the pub that was literally next door to the restaurant. And then we chilled there for another 2-3 hours. That's the best birthday of my life. Just with 4 other people, watched the movie, went to my favorite restaurant, one of my favorite restaurants, and enjoyed ourselves. There you go. You must get fucked up while watching Alien. Alien Romulus was a good film, yeah. Honeymoon in the most romantic place on earth, Newark, New Jersey. You remember when I went to New Jersey a year and a half ago? New Jersey people are going to come on my wedding. It's going to be wild. Well, yeah. So what I'm trying to say, when you're doing events, just do the thing you like the most. That's it. Just do the thing you like the most. Don't be like, oh, I gotta do a thing because of the only time I subscribe with intentionally doing it a bit, megalomania, a little bit larger, is when you properly want to celebrate that. You want to make it into a big event. That's fine. It's also fine.
The lab. 2 hours later, she confirmed my suspicions. Using a limited sample size of 6
cigars, whiskey, and Magic the Gathering. That sounds fucking incredible.
Points on the inside of King Gezo's tomb, they established the trace presence of human and chicken peptides. There are numerous ways this could have ended up in the samples of this location. Also, there's no control. How can you prove that something definitively happened in one place unless you test using the same method in a place where you know for sure the mortar didn't use blood? That aside, the data doesn't definitively prove anything about human activity. It's possible sacrificial blood was used in the mortar of the tomb, but the study doesn't prove that, only the trace presence of blood in 6 sampled points on the inside of the wall of the tomb. Matt Walsh himself brings up human sacrifices inside tombs to allow people to accompany a king into the afterlife. That could be a possible hypothesis for the findings, but so could virtually anything else. You need more in order to make this conclusion. Also, they use the historical account of a man named William Snellgrave, who isn't necessarily reliable. More on that in a moment. But then he introduces another element of his thesis.
Assuming you survived a Dahomey raid, which wasn't likely, and were taken captive, it was far preferable to be sold to Europeans than to remain in Dahomey.
That's what Brother Freda said earlier. That is advanced racism, ladies and gentlemen, in NB. That is demon level racism. That is not like casual subjectivity of someone raised in a racialized society, so they have inherent biases which are very difficult to get rid of. That's not that. This is narrative. This is claiming, I don't know if I have people of color in chat or whatever, but this guy, by saying this, is unironically claiming that black people would rather live under the shackles of white men than live in civilizations created by black men and women, of course, and so on. You understand the level of disregard and Orientalism this does to any broad concepts of pre-colonization African culture. TLDR, he's basically saying that being shackled for life is preferable to what he presumes was a life an African of the time had. This is absurdly advanced racism. This is like that level of racism when you're like, okay, this is just pretty fucking evil. Like evil, you know, like. Much love, brother. Thank you, man. Either. Rat-ta-ta-ta. I love when you subscribe. I get to dance a little. For you, it must be boring because you subscribe like once a month and then I do the little thing. So to you, you're like always, what the fuck? Like every time. To me, it's once a month. To me, it's very rare, right? So I get to do the little things. So there you go. Difference in POV. Apologies. If it's annoying, tell me, I'll stop it. Matt Walsh reminds me of all those white dudes that start cults. They're always Jesus, but they have to wear glass.
The argument is that it was to the benefit of those captured by the Dahomey to be trafficked into the European-run.
Stop it. Give me 5 gift subs right now. Jokola, 5 gift subs right now. 5 gift subs right now.
Atlantic slave trade, which gives the slave trade an almost humanitarian character. Let me let him finish before I delve into that.
Good. Now keep bullying me. It's sexy.
Slaves they couldn't sell or that they didn't want anymore were subjected to torture and public executions. That's because the Dahomeans believed that they could communicate with the gods.
There's only one way to get a narrative this evil, which is to use the narrative of the slavers. Beautifully put.
Through human sacrifice.
Matt Walsh's argument here is actually a very old one, roughly 200 to 300 years old in fact. Quote, the emergence of Dahomey into the European consciousness in the 1720s, it is important to note, coincided with the beginnings of a serious public debate about the morality of the slave trade. It must be stressed that our principal accounts of 18th century Dahomey were...
Hey, there's narco cartels in Colombia. The fact that they have a lot of cocaine that they're trying to sell does not make me, a bad guy. They're the bad guy. Me then distributing that to the community as like an in-between dealer, I'm just, they're the ones that brought the coke to me. Like, they're the ones that brought the slaves to me. I just distribute. I mean, like without me, somebody else would distribute it. I don't think Matt Walsh would appreciate that argument when talking about narcotics. his fucking probably self-righteous fucking Christian ass would not appreciate much, right? But it's problematic comparing these two, like massively problematic. But you get what I mean. You get what I mean. They're holier than thou in certain cases, and then they're excusing some of the most evil, depraved shit. I would argue the most evil, depraved that you can do. Period. Which is put another man in chains and rid him of their humanity.
This in the 1720s, it is important to note, coincided with the beginnings of a serious public debate about the morality of the slave trade. It must be stressed that our principal accounts of 18th century Dahomey were all written by active participants in the slave trade. Further, all three were active polemicists in defense of the slave trade, and their works were published explicitly as contributions to the debate on the slave trade. These people writing about the atrocities committed by the Dahomey were not shy to lie a little in order to emphasize the moral duty of Europeans to rescue Dahomey's war captives, by trafficking them to their sugar plantations in the New World, like some form of humanitarian slave trade. Quote, "It needs to be stressed how functional this view of Dahomeyan society was for the anti-abolitionist case. Stress on Dahomey's warlike character implied a situation of perpetual warfare, generating large numbers of war captives. Stress on Dahomeyan brutality and the practice of human sacrifice on a large scale implied that such captives would normally be killed. The European demand for slaves, it could then be argued, provided incentive for the sale rather than the slaughter of these captives, and so saved life." This is an argument that was formulated by the anti-abolitionist William Snellgrave in the 1730s. Quote, "It is evident that abundance of captives taken in war would be inhumanly destroyed was there not an opportunity of disposing of them to the Europeans, so that at least many lives are saved." The tyrannical nature of the Dahomey regime that Walsh seems to be emphasizing is also a recurring theme from the arguments of slavers at the time. Quoting historian Robin Law, "The stress on absolutism in Dahomey also served anti-abolitionist purposes, by implying that Africans were effectively slaves already, so that the Atlantic trade involved not the enslavement of free men, but merely the transfer of slaves from one continent to another." This was one of the things that Matt Walsh set out as part of his thesis in the beginning of the video, that Europeans weren't actually enslaving free men, they were just transferring slaves from one place to another. This is an argument made by slavers in the 1700s that Matt Walsh is parroting. Quoting Robert Norris from the 1780s, "The general state of the African in Africa is that of slavery and oppression, in every sense of the word. It is a lot of most of those that are brought to the colonies, who generally speaking were slaves in their own country, only to exchange a black master for a white one." A lot of what these anti-abolitionists said about Dahomey was exaggerated, but most of it, except maybe the allegations of cannibalism, was rooted in some reality. Dahomey, for example, did carry out human sacrifice at an unusual scale compared to the rest of Africa, and Dahomey was particularly militaristic, having a professional standing army that eventually was equipped with European weapons. Even so, the picture that Matt Walsh paints is an exaggerated one, that exclusively emphasizes barbarity and cruelty. The argument that Matt Walsh is making is a pro-slavery argument, one plucked straight out of the 1700s.
The blood of the murdered men was conducted by conduits into the trench until its quantity was sufficient to float the boat. This was the level of barbarism that defined the intra-African slave trade. The Dahomey literally sailed canoes in the blood of their slaves.
First, I want to make it clear, as the authors that I've cited also do, Dahomey was an exception. The Dahomey's reputation for human sacrifice, slave-taking, and militarism were not characteristic of the rest of the region. It was a reputation that the Dahomey consciously cultivated as a means of control. And on the matter of the Blood Lake, he continues to
Welcome back, Zafira.
Heap on the stories of barbarity that sounds like it's straight out of a Warhammer Black Library book, dubiously sourced to a Sacramento Daily Union article about the Franco-Dahomey Wars, or in other words, the French conquest of Dahomey in the 1890s. Historian of Africa Edna G. Bay writes unambiguously in Wives of the Leopard that, quote, "There were no lakes of blood, and cannibalism was never more than a rumor." The context of this being written in the middle of the French conquest is very important. Quote, "Paralleling the political changes were changes in European perceptions of African peoples that ultimately provided rationale and justification for conquest and political subordination. Scholars have traced the growth of pseudoscientific thinking about race and nationality during this period. In European and North American popular culture, Dahomey emerged from these debates as an archetype of depraved savagery, its name synonymous with barbarism."
Again, Fred is doing good cop, I'll do bad cop. What does that make you then? You go, you see a bunch of savages that sacrifice people, pour their blood out, whose entire economy is based on slavery. And then you start doing slavery. What does that say about you? By saying bad cop, for those of you who are new, I take Matt Walsh's arguments face value and citations face value, and I'm like everything you said correct, even in that context. Okay, you're a pure, pristine white lily. You go to West Africa. You see a nation that is actively building its entire economy on slavery, mass murder. You see them behead people in order to fill lakes with blood that their kings can ride canoes through. And what's the first thing you do? You start buying slaves. Okay, there's slaver savages. Okay, let's say we agree with that. What does that make you if you start doing the same? What does that make you if you start doing the same? Isn't the narrative supposed to be that the civilized white man came, and because he was better, he refused to do that? Oh, we can't make that argument because he did it. So even if this fake story was true, whenever you call them barbarians, you should also call your own people barbarians when they participate in the same actions. It's an unwinnable argument for these fucking white supremacists. It's genuinely unwinnable. Because even if we take it at face value, isn't the superiority of the Western white man supposed to inspire in him the ability to not do what the savages have done? Right? Isn't that the point? Isn't that the point? We're better. So right? We should do better, right? Then why are we also doing the slaving? If we're better, if we're more civilized. If this is icky, why are we doing the icky thing, Matt? Why are we doing the icky thing? Enlightened slavers, absolutely. They were better because they were white. You don't get it. Exactly. Beautifully put. No, that's it. Reminded that the Enlightenment was heavily influenced by indigenous thinking, and they still enslaved people. Why is USA in Iran? Because they're fucking imbeciles. I think what he was saying is that they were just as bad, but to be honest, I can't really follow his logic. But that's what I'm saying. If the argument is they were just as bad, how does that clean the hands of European slavers in comparison to others? Right? Thank you, Dagalova. Thank you very much for the prime. Thank you very, very much for the prime. Because the underpinning point is whenever we do the same thing that they do, we do a little bit better. Doesn't really say that we're the same.
By the time French soldiers arrived on the coast, the French press had prepared them to fight against the fameuses Amazons, the Dahomey who were confronted with aggressive European imperialism, unfortunately also encouraged these exaggerated and inaccurate views of them as terrifying savages. Quote, the Dahomean ruling...
Saying that African slavers were worse, so we shouldn't feel bad about the white Europeans did stuff that wasn't as bad. Absolutely. And be doing the bad cop and agreeing with him saying that, these were really, really, really fucked up slavers insinuates that when the more civilized white man came to the land, he was supposed to not replicate what they did. Because the second a quote-unquote more civilized man comes and sees a barbarian mass-murdering fucking freak and starts replicating him, the civilized man is worse. Now, I'm unironically using fucking colonialist logic, but almost. The civilized man is worse because the civilized man is a thinking man. He's an intellectual. He comes from civilization. Barbarian does not know what he does. He's not been enlightened by the glory of Christ or Allah or whatever. He just acts on his base, primitive instincts. So when a civilized man comes and interacts with the base and the primitive, and then replicates what the base and the primitive do, he does not have the same excuses as the base and the primitive do. You see, I'm going full Nazi the way I'm referring to these people. And even in that context, the whites are more immoral. You understand? Because, quote unquote, the civilized man has decision-making skills. Western African barbarians were barbarian because subhumans, barbarian, no culture, blah, 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 all those stupid fucking arguments. So if we agree with those stupid fucking arguments, it still makes the Europeans worse because they had the intellectual capacity and civilizational reference points to not do it, and yet they did it. That makes them worse. That makes them worse. You understand what I'm saying? I think his argument is partly a tacit admission of the scale and cruelty of the European-led slave trade may have been morally worse to his sensibilities because his only resources, everyone was just as bad. Yeah, that's why this rant, my friend. That's why this rant. You can't say everyone is just as bad while introducing the context of Kurder. Look at how bad they were. But then you just fall into the colonial, we were civilizing them. That's where they always go eventually. We were civilizing him by enslaving him. Civilizing by making him a fucking equal member of society. But of course they never do that because it was never a point of a civilizational project. It was never a point of, quote unquote, helping out the barbarians. The point is always creating social constructs, which race is one of, as a means to obfuscate different varying levels of exploitation. Well, I fucking need to read Lenin to you.
Elite expected European nations to respond as their African neighbors did, with terror. Of course, they didn't. So what was intended as scare propaganda instead became justification for European.
My particular pet peeve is the level of anti-intellectualism that is in the right. That even under their own context, under their own concepts, such as barbarians, civilized people, subhumans, and Ubermensch, and so on, even if you subscribe to every single one of those filthy concepts, it still doesn't make sense. It still doesn't make sense. That's why I'm so fascinated by it. I'm genuinely, and I'm sure that with the reaction pod, we're going to such a great time diving deeper and deeper in. That's why I'm so fascinating. It's like I feel like I discovered a mental disease that nobody before me discovered. And I still don't know how exactly it clicked. Yes, we've had millions of fucking theoreticians on reactionary thought, and we have a billion theories on how they actually work and what motivates what, at which, the anti-imperialist, usually Marxian perspective towards reactionary sentiment is a very strong one, but it is still a field not explored enough. It is truly, truly still a field not explored. Because yes, we can. 99% of it is explained away by material conditions, blah blah blah, systems that are unstable. You don't want people to be looking at the system. You want them to be looking at social issues and other in-group, out-group categories as a way to dissuade from potential upheaval and revolution. But yes, that's all true. That's all true. But there is an almost metaphysical something there that I don't think we've quite yet put our finger on. As a student of anthropology, white supremacy doesn't make sense in a way that other social systems. Yep. Technically, socialism for all has already provided the world with human-read audiobooks of Lenin. But if you did an ASMR reading of what is to be... yeah, there's audiobooks everywhere. Maybe because whiteness is not a concrete idea. Yes, my friend. Yes, here in particular, with this video, we're talking about whiteness. But with reactionary sentiment in generally does not have to be linked to whiteness. In the States, it almost always has to be because of the particularities of the States, right? But it can also be linked to your opinion on vaccines, bro. You can have a fascist movement that wants to shoot people who don't wash their teeth. That is led by a toothbrush corporation. If you really want to, you can make it. And you're going to have tooth cleaning patriots wearing armbands with toothpaste symbols on. How the fuck does that pitch have such a big argument? That's what goes into the only thing that I'll maybe ever write is the whole unitas mundi bullshit, not bullshit, believe in that I try to explain is by being dialectical materialists, the left, for very, very rational reasons, throws away exceptionally tribal instincts of the Homo sapien. And again, understandably so, because it is almost always co-opted by the reactionary element. What I am trying to introduce as an alternative is not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. And what I mean by that is the fact that reactionary elements have constantly used very baseline tribalism to inspire their particular reactionary movements does not mean that we cannot have our own spin on it. Our own spin on in-group, out-group. And we try to do that with class. And to a very large extent, it didn't work. Because we either overdid it, okay? Think Yagoda and KVD shit, right? Or it didn't inspire enough because class is a very particular, interesting identity category that it is, it's hard to revolve militancy around. Any other type of utilization of tribalism leads to reactionary shit where, one fellow human is worth less or more than another fellow human, even if it is a socialist government or a socialist nation or a socialist international that is separate to another, quote-unquote, people out there. So while internationalism has been invented, the only way I want to contribute to theory to an extent is how to militarize internationalism and how to be able to spin it so that it does scratch, so that internationalism does scratch that particular part of the mind that truly, truly craves an in-group, out-group. If the reactionaries can capitalize on this particular craving, why can we not as well? Or there is no good or bad in a particular craving, in a particular biological imperative, in a particular commodity, in a particular service, product, piece of tech. Either good or bad, depending on who utilizes and how they relate to you and your conditions and your means and your perspectives and your and that militant internationalism that I'm talking about is something that we have not explored enough. You can call it species-based patriotism. You can call it militant internationalism. You can call it hardcore anti-chauvinism. I care little for that. But what I do care about is that there is not enough theoretical exploration done on this point whatsoever. Internationalism is usually an afterthought, which is like after class contradictions are taken care of, we're all going to hug and shake hands and we're going to become part of one big global family, which unironically probably will happen. But why do we have to say this is something that will come if you fight for the class project? Why can't we have people that fight for the internationalist project and put the class dynamic as an addition and not vice versa? Understand? If you don't understand, read more. Thank you, Missed Headshot, for the 2-month streak. Very kind of you. Thank you very much. The potential of internationalism is immense in terms of organizing and solidarity. Absolutely, right? Really is. Wasn't the Cuban Revolution disguised as a nationalist movement to start? Yes, this is a more complicated conversation. There is progressive nationalism, especially when it's fighting against a reactionary movement or specifically colonialism. Then at that point in time, for the developing stages of that particular society, nationalism is a progressive force that rids them of foreign occupation, influence, and colonial control. After liberation from colonial control, and probably many decades, the contradictions of nationalism show its ugly head, in which now the tool used to liberate a people is slowly being used against people of other nations or people of other nationalities inside of the country. And that is when the contradictions of nationalism need to be addressed and eventually overthrown as well for internationalism. So it's steps, right? It's unironically, it is as simple as that. It's steps. You cannot propose internationalism to somebody that's living under colonial rule. Like, you will sound insane and you will be insane. Like, first, these people need to experience national freedom before we can have conversations about how we're all basically the same, right? Because it's very difficult to argue to someone that we're all basically the same when his colonial overlord kept telling him that he's a subhuman for the last 500 years. Gaddafi's lack of understanding integrating them into the wider socialist project ultimately led to his downfall, as the ethnic group became a core part of the anti-Gaddafi movement in the country. There you go. That's happens all the time. Happens all the time. When you push internationalism to the side. Tito didn't put internationalism to the side. Internationalism in Yugoslavia had a more a stronger character than even socialism. Internationalism was the soul of Yugoslavia, in my modest opinion. Not even the class project. Of course, internationalism is a class project, but you get what I mean. The main criticism most usually have, and this is extremely problematic for me to say in public, because thank God I wear a mask, so I can, because this can get me in a lot of trouble back home and everywhere. He was too soft. His treatment of potential reactionary elements in the country was absurdly soft. But again, that came from material conditions, because he saw, let's say, levels of utilization of violence as a means for the proletarian class to secure its place, sound as nerdy as possible, over in the Soviet Union, and the Yugoslavs decided against that. The biggest gulag in Yugoslavia was Goli Otok, and let's fucking Otok. This is from 49 to 88. $16,000 political prisoners. Jesus Christ. Give me fucking population. Let's take this number in the middle. 21 million. Yugoslavia had a population of 21 million. It had 16,000 people in its quote-unquote gulags. Very different number than in the Soviet Union, even adjusted to population size. But what a lot of communists say is that it was not smart. You know, and if somebody says why, well, we saw what happened in the 90s. So you have this is why it's so difficult to look towards a past project and act all high and mighty, and that's why I never do it. Because from one side you have these, you know, this party, the Yugoslav Socialist Party, that basically chose, that said, you know what, I can't do it. I can't just fucking, you know, arrest so many fucking people. I just can't do it. So that's cool. But then there are consequences. And then in the opposite, the Soviet model, which was more heavy-handed, let's say that, to say the fucking least, decided against that, but then had other contradictions. And to an extent, one of the main contradictions that was filed against the Soviet Union, both domestically and abroad, is because of how, before it was closed down very early in Soviet history, how repressive the Gulag system was, right? Now I'm talking context of comparing Yugoslavia to the Soviet Union specifically on this, and how both countries, no matter which direction they took, it led to a certain level of contradiction, and that is the where the difficulty of a revolution lies. It's the day after. What the fuck do you do the day after? And it's just gamba, 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 gamba. Speaking of gamba, 5 gift subs or more, and you can spin the wheel of fortune. Gamba is live. Let's fucking do it, chat. But yeah, it's betting. So this is not a contradiction we will have to deal with whatsoever in future revolutions, in my opinion. Gulags are not going to be a thing. There will be places that reactionaries are taken to, and there will be extremely comfortable colleges. Like, no joke. No joke. Like, extremely comfortable colleges that the state absolutely will pay for, and that we, progressive proletariats, will also very gladly support and pay for, because we understand that reactionaries are reactionaries because of their conditions. And they need to be treated like patients. More importantly, like students, not like patients, like students. So you will have to go to college again, particular colleges, and nobody's gonna beat you, okay? Nobody's gonna put you in uncomfortable rooms. Nobody's gonna shoot you if you don't listen. You just don't get to leave until you don't learn. That's it. You learn. You're immediately reintegrated in society. Your dossier is made secret of your past reactionary actions, not thoughts. Ain't nobody getting arrested because they shared a fucking opinion. Not that's not because of ethics, because it's fucking stupid. It is beyond fucking stupid. Creates greater counter-revolutionary fervor. Don't fucking do it. The Soviets also realized that. That's why they closed most of the fucking gulags immediately. And that's why they told the secret police not to fucking interrogate people just because they heard somebody say something that says something. I've talked to old fucking head communists that literally worked in departments where you go and you report someone. And he was like, my entire job was canceling out 99% of the reports because it was usually some neighbor wanted to report another fucking neighbor because his dog shat on his fucking. When American Red Scare propaganda tells you, oh, everybody's reporting everybody, so they got disappeared. Yes, to an extent, people were reporting each other because, you know, you just got divorced and you hate your wife and you go and report her. But there was a whole body inside of the government and inside of the intelligence apparatus that made sure that the complaints were legitimate or not legitimate. And even if they were legitimate and you were just shit talking, it's okay. Max, you get a fine or you have to go to a course or some shit like that. The same way you go to a course now if you fucking run around calling people slurs. Yeah, the states did that too, just for communists. Yeah, but absolutely. It's called an ideological battleground. I like the idea of gulags being basically summer schools for adults. That's what they're going to be. There are going to be guns in there. Nobody's going to beat you. Nobody's going to whatever. Nobody's going to shoot you if you try to run. You will not have access to your ID card. You will not be able, therefore, to use any service in the country. Will effectively be rendered sub-lumpen, and arguably would be the only homeless category in a socialist nation. That's how I would do it. That's how I would do it. You want to run away? Okay, run away. No problem. But this is a dictatorship of the proletariat. You choose not to be a proletarian. You have no proletarian rights. Not to a home, not to shelter, not to fucking anything. You can earn your proletarian rights by proving yourself free of reactionary sentiment. And you can prove that in our free colleges. How does one treat those who do not want to learn? You don't treat them. They are very free to emigrate. They're very free to make huts in the forest and live in the forest. This is a proletarian nation. Other than that, no. You don't get to use privileges gained by the proletariat if you're not a proletariat. So if housing is secure for the proletariat of the nation, you're not a proletariat. Your housing is not secured. Your housing will be secured if you go to college. Your housing will be secured if you go to college. No problem. And after you finish it, you will be granted a home immediately. Your record will be expunged. You can even migrate to a place in which, if you feel awkward from persecution of other people that you might have done harm to during the revolution, etc. We will do our best to help you because we understand that it is a temporarily lapse of judgment induced by material conditions. This, of course, does not apply to murderers and rapists. There you get jail sentences. While I love abolishing prisons, not all of them are going to be abolished. You're describing Cuba. I'm adapting it to a more modern context, but probably Cuba would be that way if it wasn't under sanctions. Just need a lot of money for, well, people's colleges. Straight to jail. Straight to jail. That is my take. The Norwegian model prison is in a socialist state would be really good, both political. Yeah, I agree completely. I have to admit, though, I am reactionary on the topic of murder for the sake of murder and sexual. For absolutely everything else, I believe the prison system is supposed to be liberation, except when it is proven without a doubt. Again, without a doubt, very important, without a doubt that somebody's a torturous, murderous, rapist, piece of shit. Then that humanity, your belonging to the beautiful race of Homo sapiens is one that is earned. It's not one that is simply granted. And also one that can be lost. While I believe in human rights, if you do not behave like a human, or every other type of crime, well, we most likely will not have this issue because crime levels should theoretically massively go down because most crime is motivated by economic instability. And then if somebody does choose to do quote-unquote crime, once economic instability is removed or extremely limited, we will not feel bad about imprisonment. The reason we should feel bad about imprisonment in capitalism, let me remind us all of what perspective we have, dear Tavarishi. The reason we feel bad about imprisonment in capitalism is because we are imprisoning people that did not have any other choice. We are imprisoning people because they did not have any other choice but do crime. In a very well-developed, keyword, very well-developed, in a very well-developed socialist system, you had a choice. And therefore, your imprisonment will not weigh heavily on anyone's fucking soul. On anyone's. Again, imprisonment in this system is bad because people are pushed towards criminality. In a system in which people will not be pushed into criminality by external material issues, does not make imprisonment necessarily problematic. Still, one must say that if there are high levels of imprisonment in a socialist state that should agitate the proletariat to unironically rise against the current administration of said socialist state. Why? Because it implies it is not able to satisfy core needs of the proletariat that will dissuade them from criminality. Understand what I'm saying? So yeah, if there's a lot of arrests, it implies that there's a lot of criminality, which implies what? That they're not doing their job properly as the enlightened members of the proletariat that have been given the right to govern. And therefore should be either exchanged with alternative management or even overthrown. People can be pushed into criminality by societal factors. Have you not heard what I've been talking about for the last 6 minutes, my friend? That is what I am saying. Societal factors are conditions. I just joined 3 minutes ago. Okay, God bless. Yeah, I've been saying that. Yeah, any crime stemming from deeper rooted issues outside of sociopathic violence, it should be pretty much non-existent because that is kind of what socialism and communism is striving for. There would be no reason. Probably farting somebody give this gentleman or lady or NB a subscription because very intelligent. Very, very intelligent. Comrade Internet gave it to the Zoobs. The Zoo as well. Thank you very much. As we come to a close chat, if you enjoy the conversations that we have here, if you enjoy the very pragmatic sometimes, I jump between them. I either talk about post-scarcity or about an early but developed socialist model, and very openly talk about, yes, what is to be done with reactionaries, yes. I unironically believe we should build them colleges and absolutely should pay for it and absolutely should feel bad for them. If you enjoy both contrasts, like Comrade Internet does, thank you very much, my friend, of these theoretical perspectives, do consider supporting the show. $6 a month, free through Prime, or paying your beautiful, beautiful taxes. Reminder, we are in Gamba, as the proud degenerate left. And you can spin this beautiful wheel, put it on red, black, odd, or even a number, or a 3X. and you can double the number of subs you've just gifted. Money, I can lose money because I would have to buy those subs that you've done, so on and so on and so on. So yeah, if you like the show, you know what to do. I appreciate you.
In conquest, to put an end to the supposed savagery. The fact that the newspaper printed a completely fabricated story about sailing a canoe on a lake of blood from human sacrifices, and the fact that this newspaper is printed right before the peak of yellow journalism in America, means we can't really take the article's contents at face value. The article doesn't cite an author, only citing another newspaper, the St. Louis Globe-Democrat. One element of the article that Walsh brings up...
By the way, if you don't want to gamble, you don't have to gamble. You can just support the show. Don't feel forced into haram.
...is that the abolition of the slave trade led to an increase of human sacrifice in Dahomey.
Such gruesome accounts were an ironic outcome of European powers ending the slave trade decades earlier. Unsellable slaves were only useful as human sacrifices.
He is, of course, wrong. But like all the lies about Dahomey, there's a grain of truth to it. The Dahomey state rose...
Okay, now I see. I was like, sub-chatters were like doing it too much. But the way Fred, especially with his beautiful Norwegian accent, does this, the lies about the homie is fucking cracks me up. I know this is a very serious topic. I apologize, but Matt Walsh is spreading untruths about the homie.
...was wrong. But like all the lies about Dahomey, there's a...
But like all the lies about the homie,
grain of...
It's like this is a Matt Walsh video about me, and Freda is reacting to it. Like all the lies about the homie.
It's human sacrifices.
He is, of course, wrong. But like all the lies about Dahomey, there's a grain of truth to it. The Dahomey state rose as a...
Oh, we know it's the homie.
...result of the slave trade. It had become reliant on its income to support itself. The wealth allowed gift-giving and the purchase of loyalty, for example. Quote, a reduction in the quantity of such sumptuous goods threatened a reduction in the numbers of followers and supporters of the king. In effect, participation in the slave trade had drawn Dahomey into an international commercial network, from which it could withdraw only at the cost of the possible destruction of its social and political system. In essence, the slave trade had made Dahomey, and the Dahomey political elite were well aware that its abolition would similarly lead to its unmaking. The Dahomey, seeing the writing on the wall, were eager to replace the income from the slave trade with other exports such as palm oil. Breakdowns with negotiations with the British over possible subsidies in exchange for no longer participating in the slave trade, and the death of King Gezo, who may have been a part of a reformist faction, led conservatives who argued for increased militarism and slavery to win through. The result was an increase in human sacrifice, but not because the slaves had nowhere to go. If your state is struggling economically because you can't sell slaves, killing those slaves instead of putting them to work doesn't make much sense. To actually understand the rationale here, you need to understand it on Dahomean terms. Slaves or laborers, one of the most vital and important resources of the kingdom. A king who can afford to sacrifice a slave is a rich king. A rich king is a successful king. If you sacrifice less than your predecessor, you make the decline of your kingdom's economic prospects very apparent to your subjects. So, in order to maintain their dwindling control over their dwindling kingdom, the Dahomean political elite used terror, military authority, and state religion. Quote, the power and material success of the monarchy were attributable to the skillful use of both supernatural and human resources. They had less money to spend, but if they stopped spending, their subjects and their divine ancestors would abandon them, which surely wouldn't lead them to getting any more money. Quote, only one response offered relief: increased devotion, as exemplified through more ritual and greater sacrifice. This story is far more fascinating and interesting when you try to understand it as a response to their material reality, instead of trying to argue in favor of the slave trade.
They weren't big players in the transoceanic transportation of slaves. They also didn't participate in the raids on the coast of Europe that we'll address later in this episode. That's because, quite frankly, they just didn't have the technology to do that. But that's never addressed by mainstream historians.
What do you mean? Wait. The mainstream historians never talk about how the people of Dahomey really wanted to raid Italy for slaves, but they just didn't have the technology to do that. Like, what do you mean? Anyways, he then does an ad read and shit-talks documentarian Ken Burns for something inconsequential in his American Revolution documentary. Here's a clip of me watching that section on stream.
It would be inconvenient for propagandists like Burns to point out that the slaves were already enslaved by other Africans, mostly women, by the way. Reality makes the white guilt narrative.
Oh my God.
White guilt again. We already have that, but...
This year, our sponsor, Pure Talk, is celebrating President's Day by giving you great wireless service for only $20.
So if you want to celebrate President's Day, change your mobile service provider. The way he criticizes Ken Burns is very silly, when you actually could be offering very valid criticisms of his Civil War documentary. In that documentary, Ken Burns chose to feature an author by the name of Shelby Foote, who does 73.5% of all interview narration in the documentary. According to Kevin M. Levin, out of 7,653 words spoken by Foote, quote, he referenced slavery in one form or another only 3 times. Never once did Foote reference slavery as having anything to do with the cause of the war or as a motivating factor for Confederate soldiers at any point during the war.
And with that quote at exactly 21:41, please go continue watching it and giving your phenomenal view over to Mr. Freda, for I must conclude and run because I am absurdly late. This was a 10 out of 10 stream. Please join the Discord. Follow me on the socials. Thank you to my producer. Thank you to my mods. Thank you to all the Oilers, all the taxpayers, all the sexy people, all the non-sexy people, all the people that understand that how sexy someone is extremely subjective, and all the people that had a drink with me. So, follow Freda. Go finish the video on the actual YouTube. Freda, did you think I was going to steal the whole thing? No, never, never, never. By the way, the link towards the reaction, but we're already 150,000 views in. You can just do it to the YouTube channel. I don't know. This marketing guy thing, but now we're already in. Linktree is fine. Who should I raid? Quickly. Who should I raid? 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 Who should I... Madeline. There you go. Madeline, I haven't raided in a second. Madeline. Let's raid Madeline. But has Madeline raided me? I'm very petty on this. Has Madeline raided me? Madeline raided me? No, that way I can eat. No. Are you gonna stream? Brother, are you gonna stream? Wait. Are you gonna stream? You can't. Wait. No. We just watch. Let me go live and you can raid me. Of course. I'm sorry, Madeline. I'll raid you tomorrow. I promise. Go live. I'll raid you. I just watched your whole fucking video, you dumb fuck. Not dumb fuck, you beautiful fuck. Go live. Yeah, go. Jesus Christ, Freda, you fucking freak. Motherfucker. Go live. Click the button. Click the button, Freda. Click the fucking button. Oh, lovely. How lovely. Phenomenal. You were an idiot like me. I'm Ugopnik Twitch. Why the fuck did I add Twitch to it? And you had to add the fucking underline. There you go. Go listen to the man live. You can continue watching the video even with him. I don't know what he's planning. He's probably planning some incredibly niche game about titties. About large breasts. Loves games about breasts. Incredible video, Freda. It's fucking incredible. As always, I'm going to watch it on my own. Thank you for your service. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye. Use protection. Put ice in your vodka. Ciao.